Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the June 2nd, 2025 public hearing conducted by the Haverford Township Board of Commissioners. It is now approximately 6:07. This hearing is being held in accordance with properly advertised notices to inform the public of the proposed comprehensive plan, to allow for public comment on the proposed plan, and to consider adopting the proposed plan by resolution at a later meeting. Before we begin the public hearing, I'll now ask our Township Manager to please call the roll.
Commissioner Gondek.
Present.
Commissioner Forresty Grubb.
Here.
Commissioner Cavender.
Here.
Commissioner Holmes.
Here.
Commissioner Quinn.
Here.
Commissioner Hart.
Here.
Commissioner McCollum.
Here.
Commissioner McCluskey.
Here.
Commissioner Trombetta.
Here. At this time, I now ask that we begin with the Pledge of Allegiance led by our Township Manager.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So to begin this public hearing, I'd like to ask our Township Solicitor, John Walco, to begin the meeting with the introduction of any exhibits to be included as evidence for this public hearing.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have 10 exhibits that are of an administrative nature for this comprehensive plan hearing. First will be Board Exhibit 1, which is the current draft of the Haverford 2034 comprehensive plan. It has been available on the Township website. Board Exhibit 2 is the proof of publication of this hearing related to the comprehensive plan, which was published in the Delco Times on May 19th and May 26th, 2025. Board Exhibit 3 will be the proof of legal advertising for the initial comprehensive plan meeting that was on June 9th, 2022 by the Haverford Planning Commission, which was published in the Delco Times on May 26, 2022 and June 1st, 2022. Board Exhibit 4 are the proofs of the Haverford Planning Commission's public meetings on the comprehensive plan that was commenced on that advertised date on June 9, 2022, and then the subsequent public meetings on the comp plan, which were held on June 23, 2022, July 14, 2022, August 11, 2022, September 8, 2022, September 22, 2022, October 13, 2022, October 27, 2022, and December 8, 2022, at which time the Planning Commission recommended that the comp plan be referred to the Board of Commissioners and its steering committee to make additional revisions in line with those meetings and their reviews. Board Exhibit 5 is the proof of submission of the revised comprehensive plan to the Haverford Planning Commission on December 19, 2024, and then after revisions to the plan again on April 16, 2025. Board Exhibit 6 is proof of submission of the revised comprehensive plan to the Delaware County Planning Commission on December 19, 2024, and then after additional revisions, again on April 16, 2025. Board Exhibit 7 is proof of submission of the comprehensive plan to the surrounding municipalities on December 19, 2024, and then again on April 26, 2025 after revisions, such municipalities being Radnor, Lower Merion, Upper Darby, Springfield, and Marple Townships. Board Exhibit 8 is the proof of submission of the comp plan to the Haverford School District on December 19, 2024, and then again after revisions again on April 16, 2025. Board Exhibit 9 are reviews of the revised comprehensive plan by the review letters by the Delaware County Planning Commission of the comprehensive plan, and that was done through their January 17, 2025 review letter, and then again on May 16, 2025. Board Exhibit 10 will be the presentation for this public hearing. That's before us today, the Haverford Township Comprehensive Plan Update Public Hearing, June 2nd, 2025, put together and will be presented to us by the Director of Community Development. With that, I will turn this over to the Haverford Township Director of Community Development, Jamie Jalosian, for a brief introduction about the comprehensive plan and the purposes of why we're here today. It can't hurt to be sworn, so why don't we swear in?
How about now?
Yeah.
There we go.
let's get started. A comprehensive plan is a long-term guiding document that outlines a shared vision for how we want our township to grow and evolve over the next decade, especially when it comes to land use and housing, natural resources, historic preservation, transportation, and community facilities. While it may guide future policies and investments, it is not a zoning ordinance and does not change our laws or establish regulations. What the plan does is offer ideas for what Haverford Township could look like over time if and when new development happens. It provides a vision for certain commercial areas, ideas that would only apply to future development, and even then, only after more public discussion and formal approvals. It articulates goals and policies for the township in each area of interest addressed by the plan. To be more clear about what a comprehensive plan does not do, it does not call for closure, removal, or relocation of any current businesses. It does not propose demolishing buildings. It does not change anyone's zoning or property rights. Any actual change, such as new zoning rules, development approvals, or infrastructure projects, would go through separate processes, and they would require public input, community discussion, and votes by the Board of Commissioners. The role of the Municipalities Planning Code, the MPC, is that the state law requires a township to have a comprehensive plan and that it be reviewed every 10 years. The MPC sets forth certain criteria that must be included in a local comprehensive plan. These include and are not limited to a plan for land use, a plan for housing, a plan for community facilities, a plan for transportation, and a plan for historic preservation. The MPC encourages public participation in the development of a comprehensive plan and has requirements for the plan to be reviewed regionally once completed. This plan has been reviewed by the county, the school district, and all adjacent municipalities. This plan has been a community-led process. The update to the township's comprehensive plan has been in progress for over 6 years. It began in 2019 and has included multiple opportunities for residents to share their perspectives. Here's what the public process has included: a resident survey completed by over 3,500 people, interviews and meetings with community stakeholders, including business owners, civic leaders, and others. A series of public planning commission meetings where the draft was reviewed, debated, and improved. Multiple community forums and town hall style meetings where residents could ask questions, voice concerns, and shape the plan. This was not a rushed or behind closed doors process. It has been deliberate, inclusive, and built on resident feedback. I'd like to read the community vision statement for everyone that's in the plan. Haverford Township envisions a thriving, welcoming, and sustainable future that blends tradition with progress while prioritizing its residents' well-being and the inclusion of people from all walks of life. We envision walkable neighborhoods anchored by robust local businesses, accessible green spaces, and intentional, well-planned housing. The key themes of Haverford 2035 are land use, housing and economic development, natural resources conservation and sustainability, historic preservation, transportation, community facilities and services. The goals from the land use, housing, and economic development theme are as follows: encourage compatible mix of uses in a way that reduces everyday dependence on motor vehicles and promotes healthy lifestyles, and strengthen the older commercial areas to encourage walkability by integrating a mixture of uses with compatible zoning regulations to promote functional growth and new investment. Let's take the opportunity now to clarify existing residential zoning designations will remain fully intact under the draft comprehensive plan. There is no proposal to eliminate or weaken the neighborhood-specific zoning protections that help preserve the character of our residential areas. Any future zoning updates that do arise from the plan's long-term vision would be subject to a separate public process and one that requires multiple public meetings, input from residents, and votes by the Board of Commissioners. There will be no sweeping zoning overhaul or sudden changes without meaningful community engagement. The mixed-use land use designation is referring to adding residential above existing commercial areas, which are primarily targeted in the proposed town centers of Eagle Road, Oakmont, and Haverford Road Commercial Corridor, which is the area between Ardmore Junction and Wynwood Road. Mixed use and town centers. So to clarify, what does that mean? A town center is a walkable, civic-focused commercial area with gathering places. These are in Eagle Road, Oakmont, Brookline, and the Haverford Road Commercial Corridor. The purpose there is to enhance the sense of place and to revitalize these areas. The plan explores allowing mixed-use development in a few specific commercial corridors. Mixed use in this plan means adding residential upper story uses above existing commercial uses. This idea is focused in a few strategic places. Westchester Pike. This might help a little bit better. So Westchester Pike, near parts of Eagle Road, which are the pink areas on the map. Eagle Road, including some areas near Darby Road. A portion of Haverford Road between Ardmore Junction and Wynwood Road. And one block on the south side of Lancaster Avenue, which is going to be far up here. Mixed use exists in portions of these areas already. For an example of mixed use, on Eagle Road, the plan imagines a more attractive walkable corridor with tree-lined sidewalks, storefronts closer to the street, and parking in the back. A new building constructed as mixed use might have a coffee shop or a local business at street level with a few apartments above. Not a giant apartment complex, modest, small-scale housing that would fit in with the neighborhood. This type of development is not only about housing. It is also a proven way to support small businesses. More people living nearby means more foot traffic, more regular customers, more vibrant business districts. Property owners with apartments or offices above shops have an extra income stream, making it easier to maintain or upgrade their properties. A thriving commercial corridor helps attract new tenants and businesses to Haverford Township. These ideas are grounded in best practices that have worked in other successful community-focused towns, and the plan aims to enhance our local economy. The goals from our natural resources conservation and sustainability theme are to protect important natural features, including the Darby and Cobbs Creek corridors, creek valleys, flood-prone areas, wetlands, steep slopes, and woodlands. Manage stormwater runoff and improve environmental quality through green infrastructure. Promote sustainability through tree planting and preservation, education, and modeling of green stormwater infrastructure, and waste reduction programs. And lastly, encourage initiatives that conserve energy through promoting alternative modes of transportation, development designs, and encouraging alternative energy systems. The historic preservation goal: preserve locally significant historic buildings and promote the preservation of community character. We had 5 transportation goals. Improve accessibility by providing more opportunities to utilize public transit, walking, and bicycling as primary means of transportation. Make well-targeted, cost-effective safety improvements to roadways in cooperation with Pennsylvania Department of Transportation, adjacent landowners, neighboring municipalities, and developers. Improve bicycle and pedestrian facilities to complete walking and biking networks within the township and connecting neighborhoods to one another and to nearby municipalities. Promote expanded use of public transit services. And lastly, coordinate transportation, development, and infrastructure across municipal borders and seek opportunities for additional shared municipal services. And our final theme, the goal for community facilities and services, is to maintain a responsive local government that provides services to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the community through enhanced township facilities, investments in technology, improved public engagement, and continued coordination between the township and community organizations and surrounding municipalities. This draft comprehensive plan is a vision, not a mandate. It's a way to plan ahead, protect what we love about our township, and thoughtfully consider where improvements could be made over time. It is the result of years of community input, professional planning, and public dialogue. The aim is to strengthen our neighborhoods, support local businesses, and make smart decisions about growth, transportation, housing, and more for us and for future generations.
Thank you. Thank you for that great presentation. Round of applause for Jamie. I'll now invite my colleagues if they have any questions or comments regarding the presentation of our draft comprehensive plan at this time. Any of my colleagues have any questions at this time?
No.
Okay, thank you.
I have a few questions, if I may.
Please.
I just want to address a couple of concerns I've heard from some of my constituents, and to just make sure that we have accurate information and current information out there. So, Jamie, if you don't mind me asking, I just want to reiterate. I believe you touched on it, but is it accurate to say that the comprehensive plan, as it's drafted and as we're being asked to approve it, does not call for the township to take any property, private property, whether by purchase or seizure, or to develop or spend public funds on the development of any public property? Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And there's also been some concerns about the residential density, I guess a little bit of confusion with regards to the residential density maps versus the zoning maps. Is it accurate to say that the current comprehensive plan folds all of the residential density maps into one class, just residential? I should say three classes: residential, commercial, and institutional.
Every residential use is categorized the same. And then we have institutional, and commercial encompasses every commercial type of use, including office. That's our least intensive commercial use, as well as institutional. Did I mention that?
Yes.
Industrial is a use as well. And then recreation and open space. Those are the five generalized uses on the land use map.
And as far as the residential component being, the current comprehensive plan does not call for an increase in residential density in any current residentially established area. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And if somebody wanted to check that, all they would have to do is read the zoning code as it pertains to that particular zoning classification of that residential neighborhood. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And so when we go either in the next year or 2 years or whatever and revamp our zoning code, that would be something that would be part of the revamp, where someone would be able to read in there exactly what the density component is for those particular residential entities and know whether or not there's going to be any change. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And the only other question I have at this point would be, as the comprehensive plan is intended right now, it's my understanding that it's to maintain the use of the Euclidean zoning style. Is that still correct?
That is correct.
Those are the only questions I have right now based on some feedback I've received from some of my constituents, but I may have more depending on how the meeting goes. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, we'll move on to the public comment portion. Before we begin public comment portion, I did want to mention that at 7 o'clock, we'll take a brief recess to open the work session because it was advertised at 7 p.m. So it's really just a formality, but I wanted to mention that. Don't be surprised when we go to recess at 7 p.m. But we'll promptly then return back to the public hearing to allow all of our individuals the opportunity to speak this evening in a timely fashion. So now at this time, we'll open up the public comment. If you wish to speak, please step forward, state your name, and provide your address or indicate your residency in the township for the record. Please keep your remarks to approximately 3 minutes. If needed, I may ask you to conclude your comments to ensure everyone has the chance to be heard. As you can see, we have a full house here tonight. Please note that this is not a question and answer session. We will listen to all the public comments first, and then just as we did right now, we may ask questions as a follow-up to the remarks that are made after everyone who wishes to speak has the opportunity to do so. With that, I'll open the floor to public comments starting on the left-hand side. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand. We'll call you up. Please come to the podium and again, state your name and address. Mr. Druin, please join us.
And before we start with the public comment, again, we do have a court reporter here, so you might need to spell your name. I'm just going to ask for her sake, speak at a nice level so she can write down everything that you want to say, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for the instruction. And thank you for holding this hearing. My name is John Druin. I'm board president for Discover Haverford. I think it's worth also saying that I was a founding member of Discover Haverford, and prior to that, I was on the leadership team for the Civic Task Force for Commercial Revitalization. Spent a lot of time at a lot of these meetings and gathered quite a bit of information over the years. But I'd first like to thank the township for the effort it's put into developing this comprehensive plan. As we've heard from Solicitor and Jamie, there have been many public meetings. There was a survey that was circulated that was well responded to. Many public meetings, many hearings of the Planning Commission, and a lot of revisions of this document. And I think now it's at a point that it's a very robust document that I think captures a lot of input from the township. We've also submitted some additional written comments. I won't comment on those today. I just wanted to make some general comments. Starting with actually the following quote. So this is, it says, Eagle Road was at one time developed residentially, but has since been rezoned and most of the land converted or redeveloped for commercial use. This has resulted in an unattractive strip commercial area with poorly regulated signage and multiple curb cuts in close proximity to one another. Now, this was taken from the 1988 Comprehensive Plan, 37 years ago. And I raise this for two reasons. One is, like, with a number of the meetings that I've attended, I hear a lot of questions of, like, why is the township proposing this? Who is asking for it? Why change? This has really been on the table for 37 years. It was recognized as an issue many years ago. It's been on the table for a long time. And the reason it stays on the table is because there are a lot of people in the township who would like to see change brought to the Eagle Road corridor and Haverford Road. Also in that the 1988 Comprehensive Plan, it did identify a need to study the Eagle Road corridor as well as Haverford Road corridor to find out ways of improving the situation in these areas. Now, the one thing that I think we all need to emphasize, and has already been emphasized, is this is not an effort to displace current businesses. Those businesses are highly valued. Haverford Road, I shop there, and I'm supporting those businesses more than anywhere else in the township. I live right around the corner from it. But at the same time, we would like to see gradual change over time. But this is not going to displace businesses. It's not going to force businesses to close down. This is a change that it's a recommendation for zoning changes that will, in the long term, really allow development to occur, but only when people decide to sell their businesses or sell their properties in these commercial districts. It's really not a mandate to drive change. It's just an enabler for change to happen over time. The other reason I raise this is that, again, this was first proposed 37 years ago. Change takes time. Don't expect bulldozers to show up on Eagle Road or Haverford Road, the day after the comprehensive plan is approved. Then there's going to be discussions on zoning. And then after that, ultimately anybody who is interested in developing these areas really needs to wait for people to sell their properties. And if it's going to be a large scale development, they have to buy up 3 separate properties from 3 separate property owners. So it is something that will really take quite a bit of time. while we're waiting for that to happen, I think it's really important for the township and the commissioners really start the process of really starting to think about design standards. If we're wanting to look at redevelopment of some of these areas, let's take the time before that happens to really map out what we want our community to look like. And to that end, Discover Haverford has recommended that the township hire a consultant to establish with public input sets of design standards for any development that might occur. And particularly, we feel that it's important to distinguish between the new and older town centers being proposed, with a focus on preservation, revitalization, and beautification of our older centers like Oakmont Village, Oakmont South, and Brookline districts, and essentially continue the work that we've been doing over the last 15 years, Discover Haverford's been doing in collaboration with the township, to really maintain the character and inherent charm of our community business areas. At the same time, we have the less walkable corridors, and they could be gradually developed with the goal of creating more walkable mixed-use commercial strips, but with design standards that maintain the same kind of village feel that makes Haverford Township such an attractive place to live and raise a family. I think the township is absolutely doing the right thing in mapping out a vision for how our community should evolve.
Please, well,
I think the township is absolutely doing the right thing in mapping out a vision for our community.
John, if you would just pause for 1 second to say, forgive us, we forgot to put the timer on the first time. However, excuse me, we have to be respectful and have some decorum here, please.
Yep.
We
I've got
aren't
two
going
more
to be
statements
able to
make.
get through the comments. We're acting like this, please.
Yep, I think the township is
Thank you, John.
absolutely doing the right thing in mapping out a vision for how our community should evolve, including not only land use and housing, but also how many other areas in this plan, including the historic preservation and many of the things that Jamie mentioned. However, a vote to adopt the comprehensive plan shouldn't be the end of the conversation. Our hope is that the adoption of the plan will serve as an opportunity to start the conversation on design standards and begin the process of envisioning how our community will shape in the years to come.
Thank you, John.
I think the opposition deserves equal time.
Listen, actually, if I may just make a quick remark to say, there is no opposition here. And let me be clear about that. This is a community. We work together. Please be respectful of each other. Thank you. We're going to move on. We're not going to have this type of behavior. This is really inappropriate. Thank you. Thank you. Miss Angel.
Hi, I'm Jean Angel from 25 Tenby Road in Lanark. As Executive Director of Discover Haverford, I want to share my support for the plan and show my appreciation for all of the good work that went into it. I can't hear everybody. I worked with the board on a response to the plan, which we sent a few weeks ago, and our board president presented tonight for Discover Haverford. I'm speaking tonight not for Discover Haverford, but as an active, informed, and dedicated Lanark resident. I've been involved with many local projects in Lanark as a former board member and president of the Lanark Civic Association, as vice president of the Lanark Advocacy Group, as chair of the committee that created the Lanark Crossing Park, and as chair of the Haverford Tree Tender Group. I've planted over 50 trees in the neighborhood. I care deeply about Lanark. The main issues I'd like to address, pedestrian access and safety and historic preservation in Lanark have not been included in the plan, and I think they should be. The first is pedestrian access and safety. Inside the boundaries of Upper Lanark, where I live, between Township Line, Darby, East Park, and Landillo, it's generally safe for pedestrians, but we're landlocked in many ways due to the unsafe streets that surround us. I live 1,000 feet from Kohl's and 1,500 feet from Lowe's, but do not have a safe way to walk there or to the Quarry Center. We can't easily reach the extension of the Pensy Trail, which was meant to connect Lanark with the rest of the town. For those on the other side of Darby, they need a safe way to cross Darby Road to reach the Lanark Crossing Park behind the old Lanark School apartments. I know there are some improvements planned at the lights on Township Line and Westchester Pike, but they will never be safe enough for children to use. Crossing Darby Road farther west at East Park Road is somewhat safer, but still difficult. Without a light there, we would need a pedestrian refuge island to make it safer to cross. Even at Landillo Road, where there is a light, a pedestrian refuge island is needed. This affects not only safety, but our quality of life as Lanark residents. Well, I gave this feedback to the consultant hired for the Safe Street study. These were not included in the plan, which focused on reducing fatalities. I ask that you look again at that section of Darby Road in Lanark as you address pedestrian safety. The second issue is historic preservation in the Lanark neighborhood, which was developed at the turn of the century. My husband and I own a 1908 house, and we spent a lot of money and sweat and equity renovating the house, as have my neighbors. We love Lanark and want to protect it from future development. Lanark is a historic treasure and should be preserved for future generations. In addition, as a gateway to the township, protecting the look and feel of Lanark benefits the whole township. I'm concerned about your specific recommendation on page 30 to provide for infill development while maintaining the character and integrity of residential neighborhoods by protecting existing housing from nuisances, hazards, and commercial encroachment. While these protections are appropriate, they don't go far enough for a historic neighborhood like Lanark. Twice in the past several years, a visually prominent historic home
Thank you. I'm
in
going to
Lanark
ask you to
was
wrap
torn
up.
down.
Make some concluding remarks. Thank you.
For many parcels in Lanark, they include 2 lots and the restriction that only one house can be built on the parcel. These early deed restrictions were the design standards for the neighborhood, and these design standards created the lovely neighborhood that we are. To promote and allow infill, especially when they're deed restrictions, erodes intention, the founders, and the historic feel of the neighborhood. While I appreciate your interest in increasing tax dollars, infill hurts our neighborhood. Please make a commitment to protect Lanark and the design standards which make us unique. Thank you.
Moving on to folks in the front row here. Anybody in the front row wish to make remarks? Okay, we're moving to the second row on the left-hand side. Are there any folks who would like to make? Yes, Dr. Williams.
I just want to thank the whole board for.
If you could please state your name.
Oh, yes, sir. John Williams, 730 Panmure Road. I just want to thank the whole board for putting in a whole lot of work on this plan. I think the latest iteration is a really great improvement from maybe some of the previous versions. I really appreciate the kind of maintaining the residential quality and the residential areas, especially in Brynford. I very much appreciate that. I thank you all of that, especially for some of the properties that are just on the edge of the Lancaster Avenue commercial area. I appreciate those being maintained as residential in the current draft. The only thing I would say, and I've emailed this to the board, and I appreciate incredibly the responsiveness. I just feel that rather than just saying residential for only having one indication for residential neighborhoods, just residential, I think I would hope that we could maintain something similar to what was done in the 1988 plan, where there was low density, medium or higher density residential designation in this newest plan. I understand that this is not zoning, but I do also understand that zoning can eventually reflect the comprehensive plan. And I would just hope that despite your best intentions, that the comprehensive plan as adopted does not lead to future boards using the 2035 plan to, in fact, increase density within the township. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the second row on the left-hand side? Second row, left-hand side. Okay, moving on to the third row, left-hand side. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Athan Biss. It's A-T-H-A-N. I live at 25 Waverly Road, which is in Ward 2. I'm here for really 2 reasons. The first reason is I'm a high school teacher. My students had a project in the fall. The project's prompt was, what is the most important issue facing you as young people? And they chose housing. And in their investigations, they talked to Congress people, they talked to their senators, they talked to Commissioner Forresty Grupp here. And what they came down to is that the local government really makes a huge difference in this. So That's the first reason. The second reason is I live on a street which I think probably would qualify as one of the more dense neighborhoods. My street is all twins. My neighbors are very close together, and I want to argue that that's a positive thing. So I heard the gentleman say to reduce density, but I think in reality, when a town grows, you need more density. And I also think that in my experience living where I live, one of the best parts of living in my neighborhood is the current density. My kids are able to run up and down the street. My neighbors will watch my kids. I interact with my neighbors every day. So as we think about this, as we think about the future of the town, I know I may be in a minority here, but I want not to forget that there are many neighborhoods where the density is a positive feature, and I hope that you will consider that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're still on the third row, left-hand side. Yes, sir.
Hi. My name is Jim Stevens. That's Stephephens. I live in Beechwood Drive, Ward 6. I think that's right, Larry.
I see you
I'm
again.
the chair of the Shade Tree Commission. And as such, I'm concerned about trees, and I've read this plan with concern for how trees are reflected in it, and I have to say that I'm pleased to see that there is awareness of trees in all of the aspects of their function, and some of the goals are commendable as goals. The trick is always to actually achieve some of these things. So here are the things that I would like to have achieved. There's a recognition in the plan that sidewalks and trees are in frequent conflict with each other. We need to resolve this in a way that saves trees. We've talked about density of housing. I'm interested in density of trees. We can't be cutting down trees on sidewalks unless they need to be cut down. We need to find ways to fix the sidewalks in a compatible way with the life of the tree. The plan mentions structural soils. I have no idea what that means, but I do know that we have begun a process of looking at flexible, permeable sidewalk material and are doing an experiment to see if that will work on, what's the name of the street? Anyway, Woodley. And I'd like to encourage more of that happening all around the township. Find a way to actually find material that will match the color of the sidewalk, and hopefully it will work out. I like the idea of a tree inventory in the township. This is a massive, probably expensive undertaking, but I think it's a good idea. And I think that we should not only, while it's a massive undertaking, we should make it even more massive and do inventory of park trees as well, where that's reasonable. Not forest inventory, but, park inventory. Heritage trees. We do need to preserve heritage trees. Heritage trees, big trees, very big trees, consume more carbon than 1,000 little trees. I mean, really, they do a lot of work for us. We can't be cutting them down. So we need to think about how to understand what heritage trees are, get the word out to people, and think about how to preserve heritage trees that are not just on public land, but also on private land, how to encourage people to do that, and possibly even, what was the language here? Strengthen regulations. I'm not sure what that means, but maybe it includes public land.
Mr. Stevens,
private
if you
land.
could wrap up your remarks.
Yes.
Thank you.
One more thing. There's always been talk of an arborist. We need an arborist. We probably need 2 or 3 arborists. The plan here is suggesting possibility of training staff to take care of the role of an arborist. I think that's a really bad idea. You can't train staff to be an arborist unless you send them to arborist school. There are people who have already done that. Hire a couple of arborists. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else in that third row? No. Going to the next row. I'm losing count, so fourth row. Anybody in the fourth row? Fifth row? Fifth row, sixth row, next row. I see a hand up there. Yes, ma'am.
Joyce Loeb, L-O-E-B, 2415 Winfield Drive. I compared the 2025 and 2022 plans and find that the 22 plan is much more professionally written and succinct, including important concerns regarding parking, flooding, and contaminated soil, whereas the 25 plan is less serious and much less informative on issues and concerns. The 22 plan is 87 pages. The 25 plan is 122 pages. The additional 35 pages do nothing to add substance to the issues, but support the notion that when you have nothing of value to say, use a lot of words. It makes absolutely no sense on page 22 to compare Haverford Township, a fully built-out bedroom community with a population of approximately 50,000, to the Township of Lower Merion with a population of about 64,000, or Radnor Township with a population of about 34,000, as neither is a bedroom community, and both have very significant commercial and office areas in Ballackinwood, Suburban Square, Radnor Corporate Center, and Route 30. Many here may be legitimately concerned about if the legal process is being followed regarding this comprehensive plan and its implications of zoning changes. While I am concerned about that and seriously question the rushed adoption process being followed, I will use my 3 minutes, which I hope I have left, to address my major concern, which is the Haverford Road corridor. As we all know, the area is in or abutting the 100-year floodplain surrounding Cobb's Creek. It has seriously flooded many times. As a 6th Ward resident on Winfield Drive since 1981, I acknowledge that the township has spent a lot of grant money on at least 2 engineering studies on managing the flooding concerns, but is yet to enact any solutions. The problem is not going to go magically away on its own, and yet this plan wants to develop Haverford Road further. I attended the public meeting on the 22 plan and gave my input about the vision for Haverford Road between Hathaway Lane and Eagle Road. Traffic. Haverford Road is a hot mess, especially from the bus route to Wynwood Eagle Road. Page 18 of the 22 plan speaks about the problems of congestion, contaminated soil, traffic, the floodplain, and the current zoning in the corridor. And yet page 32 of the 25 plan makes no reference to these challenges past acknowledging traffic congestion. But this from page 5 of the executive summary of the 25 plan, I find humorous, and I think it says it all. The Haverford Road corridor, specifically between the Ardmore Junction and Wynwood stations, complements the existing pattern of commerce and adds vibrancy to the community. Revitalization along this stretch of Haverford Road would serve as a focal point for community life and job growth, providing greater access to local businesses, entertainment, and public spaces, and contributing to a stronger sense of place.
Thank you.
Really?
I'm going to ask you to wrap up your
Okay,
remarks.
I
Thank
have
you.
one paragraph left. The businesses on Haverford Road, whether it's DMI, the beer distributor, Head Nut, they all deserve to be supported. I support them. We should support them. I grew up on Belmont Avenue across from Chesnawalt School and graduated from Haverford in 1971. I moved back here in 1981. I answered the original citizen survey. I care that Haverford continues to be a great place to grow up as a kid and live as an adult. I do not accept the 2025 comprehensive plan as a clear-eyed and viable vision of the future for the township. Compared to previous drafts and including the 1980 plans, which I've now read, it is lacking in substance, and I call it a puff piece. I will be very disappointed in my commissioner if he votes for this. I think it lacks seriousness towards identifying and addressing the real challenges, while at the same time recognizing and building on our strengths to keep this place where people aspire to live and raise their families.
Thank you.
Dory Dowdy, D-O-U-G-H-T-Y, 2417 Rosewood Lane. Good evening. My name is Dory Dowdy, 6th Ward. I'm here tonight as a concerned resident to speak about what I believe is a serious issue both in the process and the substance of the 2025 Comprehensive Plan. I want to address Commissioner Trombetta's recent special edition communication. While I appreciate her effort to engage, it was distributed only to 4th Ward constituents, her commissioner Facebook page, and to her constant contact list, even though she is president of the Board of Commissioners, that this plan does affect all 9 wards. If the goal was to reduce public confusion, the message should have been communicated township-wide, not just within her own circle. Her communication came out within 24 hours of a resident-produced flyer being shared online and appeared intended to challenge the message or control the narrative rather than inform neutrally. It characterizes community discussion as, quote, misinformation, yet never identifies what was false or offers any factual correction. The result? More confusion, not less. Later in the same communication, Trombetta emphasizes that this has been, quote, a community-led process, citing a township survey completed by over 3,500 residents, but the 2025 plan oddly does not reflect what that survey actually said. 70% of residents identified including traffic congestion as their top priority. Flooding and stormwater were also major concerns. Single-family housing was overwhelmingly preferred. Meanwhile, apartments above businesses and affordable housing ranked near the bottom. Yet the plan elevates exactly those less supported ideas. What's that about? This reflects confirmation bias, selectively using public input to support a pre-existing vision while ignoring the majority of resident preferences. Nowhere is this more obvious than on the Haverford Road corridor, now rebranded as the Haverford Road Town Center. But in the 2022 plan, on page 18, clearly stated that transit-oriented development there would be difficult due to floodplain constraints, limited buildable land, and conflicts with existing commercial uses. I am completely unaware of any prior mention of a town center on Haverford Road. Where did this idea come from? So what has changed in the last 3 years? Not the floodplain, not the road width, and not traffic, which is among the worst in the township. Yet the plan now proposes both a town center and a road diet on the same congested stretch of Haverford Road. This just doesn't make any sense. Trombetta states this process was not rushed, was inclusive, and was built on resident feedback. I strongly disagree, and I would add that almost everyone I've spoken to, business owners and residents alike, were not even aware this comprehensive plan update was happening. Haverford deserves a plan based on reality, not selective narratives, and one that reflects what the community has clearly asked for. This plan fails to protect the will of the Haverford residents. I urge the board not to adopt it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in that row? Yes, come on up. Yes.
Hello, Diane Durant-Law. It's D-R-E-N-T-L-A-W, Rugby Road, 5th Ward. I realize that the commissioners chose to want a more general plan that did not speak to the various wards or districts, areas of Haverford Township. As the current plan, the one I call the current plan, the 88 plan does. And in that plan, one of the really helpful things I think
has been that it specifies issues that are really relating to different parts of the community. We're not monolithic. Some areas were developed earlier than others. Some have some certain historical or other features and needs. And for instance, in the Brynford area, the 88 plan spoke about the having an office area that was created from the most northern border, which is County Line and Landover, to partially down Haverford Road. And that office district or office area is one that residents really feel strongly about not wanting to have turned into another quarry center or a Target or some other more intense commercial use. So one of the nice things about that 88 plan was that it specified that there was a real plan to have an office area. And I think that's useful. It also speaks to there being the greatest number of non-conforming uses in the township in our area of Brynford. Many residential plots had non-conforming uses granted for various reasons decades ago. And it's always been the stated goal that when those properties might change hands or no longer have that use, that it would be, it would revert strictly back to residential use. Without stating things like this, it becomes difficult for future planning, for future people who are looking at zoning, to know what the intention and what the real historical use is. So I feel that there's a real value, and I'm only speaking about how the comprehensive plan spoke about Brynford. Other areas of the community had language that spoke to their issues as well. But in ours, I think it had value, and I hate to lose that. I hate to have there be no ongoing sense of differentiation of specifics, and I think it's a value that would be lost. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, we'll take one additional comment before we hit that 7 o'clock time frame, and then we'll do a little formal opening of that meeting. So one additional comment. I see hands raised, I can't see. Ms. Wagner.
Good evening. Beck Wagner, M-A-K, Wagner, Rosewood Lane. So I'll be short and sweet. I was wondering, under the action plan for implementation, I'm quoting from page 110 of Haverford 2035. Provide for infill development while maintaining the character and integrity of residential neighborhoods by protecting the existing housing from nuisances, hazards, and commercial encroachment. How does this pertain to Rosemont Avenue homes currently backed up to the commercial buildings along Haverford Road? When you zone for mixed use and allow 3-story buildings, commercial first floor, and the 2 remaining stories apartments, or the homes on Ralston that back up to Eagle Road, businesses, or the homes on Hillcrest that back up to the other side of Eagle Road. There's no 3 stories there, and now there's going to be. I view that as encroachment. I appreciate that Jean Angel can't cross all the roads to get to Kohl's or Lowe's. Haverford Road is just as dangerous, and yet we want bike lanes. And of course, that's my pet peeve. Regularly evaluate crash data to identify prioritized street infrastructure improvements that will enhance the safety and connectivity of all modes of travel in the township. The crash data at Ardmore Avenue and Haverford Road by figure 27 on page 73 of Haverford 2035 is 16. and College and Haverford roads is 9 from police reports of 2021 to 2024. Officer Hagan answered a question that I had about the road diet going in, which I said was prior to 2016, because I know, in fact, that I retired in 2016, and that road diet was there beforehand. Lost my place, sorry. There were 2 deaths in a period from 2010 to 2019, and that caused the road diet. So I guess we're not comparing apples to apples. We have deaths and we have crashes. So I don't know that. I just keep talking about this because Haverford Road is a through road with lots of vehicles going very fast. The speed limit on there is 35, and it's not pedestrian nor bicycle friendly. Please listen. I've asked if any of you have walked this road. I just recently walked it, and those cars speed right by. I do not want anybody else doing that. Do not do this. It's not safe. I do not approve of this Haverford 2035 comprehensive plan. For these and other reasons, unable to condense into 3 minutes. Please do not approve it. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm now going to take a 30-second recess to allow us the opportunity to open up our work session. Again, forgive us for this formality. We'll do that. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance, and so 30-second recess. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the June 2nd, 2025 work session of the Haverford Township Board of Commissioners. Tonight's meeting, please guys, just bear with us for a few minutes. Tonight's meeting gives us the opportunity to preview and discuss the agenda items scheduled for next week's regular meeting and to hear updates on matters of importance to the township. We'll begin the meeting with a roll call. Mr. Berman.
Commissioner Gondek.
Present.
Commissioner Forresty-Grupp.
Here.
Commissioner Cavender.
Here.
Commissioner Holmes.
Here.
Commissioner Quinn.
Here.
Commissioner Hart.
Here.
Commissioner McCullum.
Here.
Commissioner McCluskey.
Here.
Commissioner Trombetta.
Here. Now ask everyone to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Deputy Chief Hagan.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We're now going to take another recess so we can go back to the public hearing.
Madam President?
Yes, Commissioner Holmes.
We move this work session into recess so that we can continue the public hearing that started at 6 p.m. this evening on the comprehensive plan.
Second.
Thank you. There's a motion, a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any objections? Any abstentions? Okay, we're moving on. Meeting is in recess. We're going to come back in another 30 seconds, so don't go anywhere. Thank you. All right, we will now reopen our public hearing to hear further comments from our citizens. Anyone who wishes to make remarks, Mr. Lee, you're ready to go, so let's do it.
Lee Molyneux from the Head Nut. Now, talking about traffic situation, it's a nightmare, literally. You cannot get in and out of certain stores. Yes, that is because there is so much traffic no matter what in this county. That is always going to be a problem, and this will become more of a problem with more people and residents and more businesses that are going to be coming into the township itself. Also, looking at this flood situation, that is very significant. How are they going to address that? That has not even been touched, not one bit, and there's been no remediation of the situation. There has not been a single PennDOT, not even a single township truck that has done anything, or crew, to actually remediate that situation. Take into effect of building on land that is already non-permeable, that can allow for drainage, Or also, yes, the tree commission. Yes, there is an issue with foliage. That would also help with some of the flooding issue, only a small amount, but that small amount adds up in the long run. Now, if you look at the situation of people walking along that road, it is almost impossible. You're limited to a certain amount of space. Now, there's no way when you come ahead and start with that project and building there, it's going to cause more people to be around. It's going to cause more cars. There's going to be a lot more accidents. There's going to be a lot of chances of more death situations. My cousin, a long while ago, when we were in the middle of the block, had been hit by a car coming through as he was crossing the street. Now, that is a big concern, not only just personally, but also because it's a big concern for other people that could possibly be hit going across that street. Not only that, but you're looking at public transportation. Isn't SEPTA having a problem with budget and also cutting services? Now think about it. Not only is that an issue, that's going to be even more of an issue when you have more people in that area trying to, as you want to say, using public transportation. That is a big problem. Think about it. There's going to be more and more people, and that infrastructure is crumbling. Think about it. How are you going to handle that? You can't personally do anything. This township really can't do anything to help that situation. That's on its own. You cannot bring people and say, okay, your transportation is great. No, it's not. It's definitely failing. So just remember that. That is a major factor of seeing how many people are going to come in back and forth, because it really is not going to change the factor of public transportation. Most people around here have use of vehicles. There you are, right there. Not many people actually walk. Yes, they'll walk in parks and such, but they're not walking throughout the whole township because everybody's got a vehicle and it's quicker and easier. Most people are looking for convenience. The convenience is hopping in a car and going right to where you want to go. Public transportation is not clear on how to navigate through this township. There is not one bus that goes down Eagle Road anymore, or that section that used to be for the 105. That has now been cut. Or not 105, I forget the number exactly which that one is, but they stopped the services that used to come down Eagle Road and up Wynwood Road. They're not going to bring that back.
Can you wrap up your remarks?
Yep.
Thank you.
So just think about the situation of overpopulating an area that is already suffering underneath of a transit crisis and also a massive amount of growth of people and also crime. Think about that one. That's another issue that will definitely come to face. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The other Mr. Lee.
Hi, my name's Mike Lee. I'm a Haverford Township resident. My understanding is that next week you guys are supposed to be voting on this. I'm asking you to say no to the comp plan. And the reason why is the comp plan is 122 pages. And I know people who can't read this. They're dyslexic, very smart people, just can't handle this. We refused on January 29th to hold public hearings, which is what everybody wants. They want to have a public hearing on this document so they can have input on it. Not just write up comments and come up here and make a statement, but actually have people explain the document to them, have them let them talk about it. And the reason why we want to do that is that the comprehensive plan is really important. The comprehensive plan is just like anything else where you're planning. If you're doing prep work for painting or a foundation for a house, this is what we are going to use to write the zoning. That's what the MPC calls, or the Municipal Planning Code calls for. So it's not just this useless document that we can violate when we do the zoning. It's a very important document. And it says that's why everybody wants to be involved with this. And frankly, it just hasn't been that way. And I did want to thank Commissioner Gondek for finally saying that officially that form-based zoning is off the table. It's terrifying to residents. And that was proposed in the December 2024 FHI studio contract. So I just think it's fantastic that you finally removed that and finally told us that. So anyway, the residents wanted public hearings. I think we still want public hearings. We still want input on this document. And maybe the best thing to do is send it back to the Planning Commission. Maybe the best thing to do is vote it down. But we definitely need to have people be allowed to talk about it, interact on it, ask their questions on 122 pages. Thank you.
Thank you. Looks like we have somebody coming up. Thank you.
Hi. My name is Doreen Saar, 748 Rugby Road. I am merely bringing forward a petition to the Board of Commissioners. This has been signed by over 125 residents, and I will simply read you the call. First, we support the preservation of the residential character of our neighborhoods and the goals, plans of, quote, preserving residential neighborhoods by protecting the existing housing from commercial encroachment, reducing traffic congestion, and improving pedestrian safety. To those ends, for clarification, we request that the plan, A, explicitly state that no new or more intensive commercial uses are intended for Haverford Road north of Ardmore Junction. B, make clear and consistent throughout the plan that the Haverford Road commercial corridor refers solely to the area of Haverford Road between the Ardmore Junction and Wynwood M stations. And I think I need to apologize to the lady in the back for that. Only in that she doesn't want it at all at the other end. Indicate that the areas designated as commercial on the land use maps encompass both office and commercial districts, and the plan does not propose changing office districts into commercial districts. And D, add the township's current zoning map to the appendix. So I'll just hand this to you with the signatures. And thank you. We do appreciate all the work that you've done. This is a long and arduous process, and I think it's really important that everyone gets to be heard. So these are important meetings to be held. Thank you.
Thank you. Sure.
Hello, Mike Sweeney, 2406 Poplar Road, Havertown. Thank you for your time. I just wanted to say a couple of quick things. One, the library. I think it was really important that you guys kept it in the location that it was in. It's a perfect location. Obviously, a lot of people have a lot of opinions about the whole process, but I think you guys did a great job keeping it where it is. And if people want to just get up, and public speaking is difficult, but if people just want to get up and say, hey, could you wait? If that's how you feel, that might be helpful for people to hear. I knew that there was some conversation or planning going on, but I didn't know any of the details. And last Friday was the first time I heard that we're going to have this session and then a vote on June 9th. I talked to maybe 100 people. I'm a commercial real estate broker. Nobody knows about this. A lot of people do not know. And I think the whole gotcha kind of politics is terrible. I hate it so much. I think Jean Adele, is that her name? So Jean and I probably couldn't be further apart on politics of what we think. I totally agree with what she's saying about Lanark and walkability and like the Westgate neighborhood, which I live in Burwood Park, but Is there a way to get Westgate people able to walk over to Manoa Shopping Center? I think that would be something worth looking at. And the other point you made about intentionality, this comprehensive plan, I read the whole thing, it has a lot of contradictions in it. It talks about there's a housing problem. I don't understand. What's the housing problem? About 80% of the people own their houses, 20% of the people rent. It's not Haverford Township's responsibility to bring in certain types of people into the neighborhood. It's just not. This is probably the only second time I've been here in 2 years. It's amazing the amount of work and time everybody sitting here is putting into the township. I'm just simply asking, can you just, I don't know what the ramifications are, can you pause and think about Haverford Road? I think it's a terrible idea to have it in one lane in each direction. I was a kid, I remember when they reduced it to one lane, I don't know the exact intersection, but it used to be 2 lanes all the way down. And I would go to grade school out in Rosemont, and they changed it. I just think it's what traffic studies have been done. Like, I think voting this through when there's so many conflicts and different misalignment within the plan would be a big mistake. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Kay Dugery. I'm at 53 Meadows Lane. So first of all, I want to thank all of you for your service, representing the residents of Haverford Township. Your work is no small task, and it really is appreciated. Your commitment to the community is great, whether we agree or disagree. You're up there doing this, and we thank you for that. Many of us chose to live in Haverford Township because it offers a rare balance. Safe neighborhoods, excellent schools, preserved green spaces, a rich historical legacy, and close proximity to Philadelphia, a really rare area. These qualities are the foundation, in my opinion, of our community's identity and the reason that so many residents choose to stay here. It is essential that we protect them. I do agree with the board on a couple things. I strongly support the plan's stated goals around historic preservation, public safety, and the shade trees. As the owner of about a 300-year-old tree in my front yard, I agree with a lot of things in the plan. Like any government entity, though, when the government strives for improvement, great caution needs to be used because efforts to improve a community often produce unintended consequences, particularly when they involve changes to zoning. Across the country, there are countless examples of where such changes, however well-meaning they were, have led to community decline and resident displacement. While the plan does not directly change zoning laws that we've talked about, as many commissioners have stated and as it's out on the internet, without public opposition, the plan clearly paves the way for future zoning changes that would significantly alter the fabric of this township. In fact, as the first speaker stated, this is a recommendation for zoning changes. One example to talk about something that everybody else so many people have talked about is the proposed increase in residential density along Haverford Road, an extremely heavily traveled road with serious congestion during peak times. The idea of implementing a road diet and reducing traffic lanes while simultaneously increasing population density risks severely overburdening our infrastructure and a safety issue. The absence of substantial analysis of the effects of this in the comprehensive plan's proposed changes on this corridor, to me, creates a serious lack of confidence that the plan truly addresses needs without causing any additional adverse effects. The Board of Commissioners have stated that there are no planned density changes. Today it was changed that there's no residential density changes, but when you look at it, it was stated that there were no density changes, and that's not the case. On page 28, it states, the future land use map helps prioritize where strategic growth and in turn increased density would be most appropriate, ... The future land use proposed involves permitting a mixture of uses in select commercial areas through the opportunity to add upper story residences above existing commercial businesses. That is an increase in density. Yes. That's an increase. Okay. And one, in fact, somebody said, that is going to include more people living nearby. Well, that's increased density. Beyond traffic, our public schools are already at or near capacity. Any effort to increase population must come with firm, well-funded commitments to school expansion. Without this, we risk overcrowded classrooms and declining educational quality. Residents are already facing property and school taxes from Haverford Township and Delaware County. And continually adding further financial burdens is not sustainable without affecting the residents of this township. Equally important is how this plan has been presented to the public, and I cannot imagine how hard this was, but just so that you can understand where we're coming from as residents, many in the community feel the process has been rushed and lacking in transparency. One example was the plan's release in the 2024 holiday season when nobody is thinking about township business, and then a vote for early February. So that didn't come across as, collaborative and open.
If you can conclude your remarks, I'd be appreciated.
Another
Thank you.
example is that the plan was created with the input of only 7% of residents. So 3,500 did include their comments, but there's 50,000 people here, so only 7,000 participated. As a result, there's a growing perception that the plan wasn't developed with sufficient community input. So we just, I respectfully urge the board to pause this process, to re-engage with residents, to hear our concerns, to address our concerns, and to create a plan that together truly reflects Haverford's core values. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Matthew Fenty, F-E-N-T-Y. Hello, Matt Fenty, I'm in the second ward. I'm going to voice my overall support for the comprehensive plan. A lot of great feedback from everyone here today, so I want to thank the group who spent years putting this together. This is a very lengthy process. I've been following it for many years and appreciate all of the outreach with the newsletters, the emails, the Haverford Town flyers that you guys put out. This is a strategic document designed to provide guidance for land use regulations and provide a framework for how the township will develop, redevelop, and conserve our land. Our township is a community developed for its historic charm, suburban character, strong schools, and abundant spaces. I grew up in Lower Makefield Township, founded in the late 1600s, on a farmhouse built in the 1700s. I understand the responsibility of a community and community leaders to not just manage today's issues, but ensure that the character of the community lasts well beyond after we leave. Doing that requires thoughtful consideration and sometimes very challenging choices that not everyone will agree with. This comprehensive plan recommends several initiatives that I think offer significant positive benefits to the community that we have to have conversations on, such as revitalizing and strengthen our commercial areas and manage our population growth. The plan is committed to enhancing a lot of the nasty weather events with a lot of storm and water management issues that come up. I also want to reiterate that I think it has to make sure it preserves local significant historic buildings and recognize their value for implementing regulations to protect them. I think addressing the challenges we face necessitates a realistic look on our finances as an organization, as a township. A responsible local government requires revenue to maintain services, provide benefits that will attract and retain our residents, employers, and people who come to visit our businesses. We also need to manage our aging infrastructure. To manage our operating budget sustainably, we have two options: increase costs or increase revenue or cut costs. I think we need to really be mindful about growing our durable revenue within the township. Independent of one-off grants, we need to be very strategic on how would we grow our tax base or manage our spend. We also, I think, must emphasize how we support and strengthen our existing commercial areas and promote businesses that development and promoting business as a development crucial strategy for generating long-term revenue sources other than residential taxes. However, any strategic plan will recommend changes that will generate a lot of concerns across many residents. I also remind that each of you, I think, represents 5,000 or 6,000 people, so make sure that we think about everyone who's not here today, and I think everyone has really great comments. This is a true concern for some, such as overdevelopment, and we have to be very mindful about how we do that and how we make recommendations strategically. I would recommend a yes to this plan, but anything else that have a defined strategic vision and how development will occur, which will happen one way or another. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. We'll conclude with the left-hand side, please. And then.
Lynn Elliott, 704 Polo Road, and I'm in the 5th Ward with Commissioner Cavender. And I actually support all the people who have said that you'd really like this to go back for more revision, and I know Ms. Jelosian would like this to be done, and all the commissioners would like it to be done, but really, I think it could use a lot more input and back and forth from the residents before it goes to final approval. However, my fear is that everyone is sick and tired of it at this point, and that all you want to do is approve it. So with that in mind, I have a specific small thing in our area in the 5th Ward, the very northwest corner on the current land use map, the very northwest corner of the current land use map, where 2 office land use districts are currently shown as commercial districts. And I appreciated that commercial is now including office. However, the current land use map is supposed to be reflective of exactly what the land use is now in Haverford Township today. And right now, they are actually 2 separate and distinct land uses. And I'm not talking about zoning. These are 2 different land uses. This is from our township code regulations. This is Chapter 182, Article 3. Title is Regulations for Office Districts. Chapter 182, Article 4, Regulations for Commercial Districts. These are 2 separate land use districts. They are separate, they are independent, they are not combined. Neither one is subordinate to the other. They are 2 separate land uses. And I realize people like to use the DVRPC and other municipalities that currently combine these uses. However, Haverford Township does not currently combine these uses, and the current land use map should be corrected to reflect that. In addition, our zoning map. And yes, this is not zoning, but these zoning districts, residential districts 1 through 9, these are all zoning districts within the land use category residential. Same thing with commercial. C1 through 5 are all zoning districts within the land use commercial. We separate out office use as a separate land use with 2 individual zoning districts. In the 5th Ward, we actually have both of these office uses up in that northwest corner next to County Line Road and then further down Haverford Road. Both of those are office land uses. And in addition, the very top one on the zoning map, this O1 district, the light purple, this is specified in the 1988 comprehensive plan, the one that governs us right now before you approve this plan. And on page 9 of chapter 6, it specifically says the future land use plan does not propose any major changes. A corridor of office use is proposed along the east side of Haverford Road from County Line Road to an area north of Polo Road. That is this exact area that is office. It is not commercial. The current land use map needs to be corrected before the plan goes to final publication. And I would hope that you would also change the future land use map, because my understanding is that you do not intend to intensify any of the uses along this part of Haverford Road. So I would hope the future land use map on page 29 would also do the exact same thing and show that as an office use. But I also have a simple fix, since I know you guys like this map and don't want to change it. The simple fix would be to simply put the letter O over both of those both of those commercial now designated districts, which are really office land use, and just put an O equals office at the bottom of the page. plain and simple, makes it very clear, and yet it's a correction that's needed because the current land use map is actually in error. And it's important not just for accuracy, it's important to prevent future land use disputes over the accuracy of this map. So I hope the commissioners will, if you vote to approve this plan, will vote to put in this correction to the current and hopefully future land use maps before you actually vote to approve the plan. And Mr. Berman,
Thank
in
you.
case anyone wants to look at the details of this, I wanted to give this.
Thank you, Ms. Elliott.
So thank you very much.
All right, left-hand side first. Yes.
My name is Kimberly Juszak, Juszczak. I live at 1730 Hawthorne Ave. I'm a licensed architect in the state of Pennsylvania. I hold a Bachelor's of Architecture degree and a minor in Public and Urban Affairs from Virginia Tech. So not only am I professionally and academically qualified to speak on land use and comprehensive planning, but I'm also a young resident, probably younger than most of the people in this room tonight. And one of the reasons my fiance and I moved here was for the great neighborhoods and the schools. We moved here despite the high tax rates. However, as wonderful as our residential neighborhoods are, our commercial areas are stuck in 1960. And this comprehensive plan establishes a strong yet malleable direction forward. Haverford needs to identify small strategic areas for thoughtful development to ensure its future is as vibrant as its beloved past. I urge you to approve this plan.
Thank you. Anybody else on the left-hand side? Gentleman in the back I know has been waiting. Please join us.
Hi. Name is Peter Diskin, D-I-S-K-I-N, 40 Colfax Road, Haverford Town. Got it? Thank you. Good evening. First of all, Commissioner Trombetta, let me apologize to you for my outburst at the beginning of the meeting. I do get exasperated sometimes. I'm sure you all must get tired, if not exasperated, during the course of the work that you all do. So I want to acknowledge that because I couldn't do it. I wouldn't have the patience. However, having said that and offered my apology, I did feel, frankly, subjectively, like I walked into a meeting of the Mutual Admiration Society. The time given to the first speaker was extraordinarily generous. You can check your tape. And the messaging sounded as if it was very friendly. So that was part of my exasperation. I am back again. For those of you who don't know me, I've been here probably 4 or 5 times over the last 2 years speaking about traffic concerns. First of all, on my block of Colfax Road, I don't mean to personalize this too much because I realize this is a much broader picture. But to broaden it out a little bit, traffic concerns in the Paddock Park area, especially between Colfax and Ellis, and between Darby and Woodley. We're talking about possibly creating more pedestrian, if not vehicular traffic in the township because of incentives to make it an enjoyable place to live and visit. I would implore you to try to get what we have now right before we move any further. Driving in this township is like driving in the Wild West as far as I'm concerned. Stop signs have been reduced to yield signs at best, not just on my road or in my neighborhood, but all over the township. If the township does not want to encourage the police department to step up their monitoring of and engagement of motorists for blatant traffic violations, both in terms of speed and the failure to observe red lights and stop signs, then you should not bring any more traffic into the area. The intersection at Darby and Eagle Roads, personally, I think is a disgrace and very risky at best. If you're coming from Ardmore Avenue, heading toward Katz Pharmacy and Eagle Road, you have to make a left-hand turn, which is essentially blind. There's no turn arrow there. Now, I know there are a lot of players here. There's PennDOT, there's local stuff, there's this, there's that. For God's sake, can't we get some improvement at that intersection? Because what happens is, I mean, I think a car went through the window of Katz last year, right? Probably trying to avoid somebody turning left when they were going straight, but maybe not. Commissioner McCluskey, you're nodding your head in the negative. It's nice to see you. I still haven't heard from you. That's three unreturned calls and unfulfilled promises you've made to me, okay? I no sooner cast my vote for you 2 years ago than I almost regretted it, okay? Because I have sent you multiple emails, multiple phone calls. You have my number. You have my email address. I've cited chapter and verse on ideas, not just complaints, but ideas for improvement that I've researched according to everything that this township is supposed to follow. Traffic safety handbooks, safe streets for all, this thing here, quality of life in residential areas, and I feel like I've gotten nowhere. I said once before, about a year ago, we can't, feels often too much like we won't. Last time I saw you, we were at the Y together. You were going to get back to me after the holidays. It's long past the holidays. I haven't heard from you. I said the traffic at the Y really is contributing to a lot of traffic in the neighborhood where I live. And you said, oh, come on, Mr. Diskin, you've lived here long enough to know that that's not the real problem. There's been traffic on Eagle Road forever. Well, that may be the case, but I would say there are 200 or 300 parking spaces at the Y, which probably turn over completely 3 or 4 times a day. That's 900 to 1,000 vehicles. Where are they going?
Mr. Diskin, I'm going to ask you to wrap up your remarks.
I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else on the left-hand side who wishes to make a comment? Okay, we're moving over to the right-hand side. We'll start at the front row. Second row? Yes, sir.
My name is Jim Mullen, 3rd Ward, 27 Orchard Road. For the record, my wife jabbed me in the side, and that's really why I'm standing here now. But I am a 70-year...
That's why I'm in this seat, actually.
Yeah. Misery loves company. I am a 70-year resident, hard to believe, of Haverford Township, and I've seen a lot of change here. I would just say that any aspect of the development plan that increases the population density or the commercial vehicular traffic in the township is not really a commercial plan, it's a civic suicide pact in terms of the effect on the future of the township. I mean, I'd say that you guys would never vote for that, but the installation of the YMCA on Eagle Road was approved by some of you, I guess. So, I mean, the record already.
I may be the only one on this board, actually. Jerry, were you here for that, Connor? Yeah. So I'll take that.
Well, 70, you start to forget things too. You know.
All right.
But yeah, that's, I mean, vehicular traffic, commercial density, population density, probably the biggest challenge that I think this township now faces going forward through this decade. To echo the previous speaker, I mean, Darby Road and Eagle Road, I'm surprised that Narberth Ambulance hasn't set up a satellite station in the parking lot, because I have a good friend with cerebral palsy who crosses that intersection at least twice a day and is just, I mean, he's waiting to be a statistic, and it's really sad. So you guys have a terrible responsibility balancing revenue with township needs. I have no
I have no easy answers for it, but I know that anything that you do in that plan that increases vehicular traffic in the township or population or commercial density and traffic is very bad. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, yes, ma'am.
I wasn't planning on saying anything. My name's Mary Dichter, D as in David, I-C-K-T-E-R, and I live on Manoa Road. This gentleman made me think of something that's been going over and over in my mind about vehicular, problems. And I guess it's because my granddaughters are teenagers, and as soon as they got their license, they got a car. And I know that that's happening more and more and more. These kids are, and I love kids, I was a teacher for 50 years, but they're getting cars. And they're adding, and they're young drivers, so they're not experienced drivers, and they're doing things like just sliding through the stop signs and, they're risk takers. And they have a 2-ton car. So this adds to a lot of danger. And the only thing I can say for myself is to be more in control of myself, more self-disciplined, so that my granddaughters see that and live that way more simply and without a car, and using transportation and walking places and seeing me do that too. Or, making my visits to the store and so on, so I don't have to come back. You know what I mean? I'll go here, here, and here and do it all at one fell swoop, whatever a fell swoop is. But that, and so yeah, something has to be done about young kids and their cars. And I know my granddaughters will say, but we need them for work, to get to work. And Mom is saying, yeah, and then I don't have to take them. But we really have to do, as the adults, think about sacrificing and giving up these cars. Because if you want a 15-minute city, you have to give up your car. Are you willing to do that?
Thank you. First or second row, anybody else comment on the right-hand side? Third row. Yes, sir.
My name is Chris Furlan, F-U-R-L-A-N. I've had a dental practice on West Eagle Road for the past 23 years. I'm going to comment on the concepts as well as the process. The first thing, I noticed that 2 people have made mention to the 1988 plan and its descriptions of the problems on West Eagle Road. A lot of those descriptions became somewhat irrelevant in the early 90s when the Blue Route opened. Traffic on West Eagle Road went from about 5,000 cars a day to now we have between 20 and 25,000 cars a day. I sit in my dental office and look at basically a parking lot outside the window for much of the day. Traffic can back up from Grace Chapel all the way to the Y. We've become, whether we like it or not, a pass-through community. We're not going to have a comfortable, tree-lined, strolling boulevard on West Eagle Road as long as the Blue Route exists. It contributes to the traffic on Haverford Road. It's just a fact of life. And adding additional housing and commercial units will only make a very bad situation worse. It's an infrastructure problem, and it's not addressed in the 122 pages. If you search 476, it comes up 3 times, and 2 of it has to do with proximity to bike paths. There's no mention of traffic. Everybody's talking about traffic, traffic, traffic. Your own survey made traffic one of the highest priorities of the citizens, and yet it's not addressed. It's an infrastructure issue. I'll go quickly because I also want to discuss the process a little bit. I want to address Commissioner Trombetter's email blast, which I received last Thursday. Commissioner Trombetta was referring to the flyer that went around that stated she wanted to take a moment to clear up some misinformation. The word misinformation shocked me. I had received copies of the flyer less than 2 weeks ago and found it compelling and thought-provoking, so much so that I walked over to my neighbors, small businesses that have each been part of the community for decades. I was surprised to hear that most of them had no idea that their commissioners were just 2 meetings away from voting on a developmental roadmap for our community for the next decade. The overwhelming sentiment that I encountered was that the community was not informed. These were all businesses with high volume of customers and a lot of personal interaction. I went to an auto mechanic, an eye doctor, a nail salon, a delicatessen, and a barber shop. Yet none of their interactions with an immensely broad sampling of our community triggered any attention to this plan. A barber shop, of all places, a recognized bastion of local gossip. In fact, the gentleman who made the comments before, he was sitting in the chair next to me as I got my hair cut. I even asked my long-term letter carrier, Mr. Personality, who knows more about West Eagle Road than anybody in the township. To him, it was a total surprise. So I thought I was performing a civic duty when I asked these businesses if I should arrange to have flyers brought to their counters. Then I received Commissioner Trumbetter's email wondering, have I been guilty of peddling misinformation? So I looked over the flyer very, very closely, sentence by sentence, and I'm happy to say I'm innocent. The flyer presented a one-sentence summary of the plan's concepts. It very carefully did not take a position, pro or con. It also asked, does this reflect what you want for areas in our town? That's a totally reasonable question. And then it explains how to learn more and how to be involved. It encouraged citizens to become part of the debate, something that has been sorely lacking. I understand the board has worked on this plan for years. Commissioner Trombetta cites meetings and surveys that she claims proves that this has been a community-led process and claims this was not a rushed or behind closed doors process. It's been deliberate, inclusive, built on resident feedback. But to many, no, I would say most residents, it surely doesn't feel that way. My brief and informal stroll in my neighborhood, among my neighborhood businesses, suggests that something went wrong. Why did a few volunteers with flyers in their hand accomplish in 2 weeks' time what the commissioners rarely have done in 6 years, and that is fill this room to capacity? I don't think the flyer peddled misinformation. I think the creators and distributors should be thanked. They showed that involving the community on a grassroots level that encourages dialogue in places that busy citizens congregate is a good place to start. Thank you.
Anybody else in that row? All right, next row, that's the fourth row on the right-hand side. Anybody? Yes.
Hello, I'm Felicia Hurwitz, Hurewitz, 8th Ward resident. Like some of the people who spoke previously, I'm on the Shade Tree Commission. I've spoken to this group several times about trees, and I'm going to speak about that again today, although I think there's many issues one could talk about with the comprehensive plan. I'm going to give some quotes. The comprehensive plan notes that shade trees can reduce the need for air conditioning and can mitigate flooding. Trees also increase the value of residential areas and make business areas more inviting. Trees play an essential role in protecting the health and well-being of residents and the environment by improving air quality, adding natural beauty, reducing energy costs, and increasing property values. All this is accurate and essential. So why do I have an issue with the plan with regard to trees? Well, it's because the recommendations listed in the plan offer no strategy whatsoever to decelerate or ameliorate the rapid loss of our mature heritage trees or our street trees. None at all. The plan only allows the township to regulate and replace trees removed owing to development or improvement. The issue is this: the great majority of street trees and heritage trees that are removed, it's not owing to development or improvement. Most are removed because they are inconvenient to their owners. Some trees are sick or diseased, some are damaged in storms. Some encroach on power lines. Currently, we have no mechanism whatsoever to regulate or replace our street trees at all. Street trees that go down, they're not replaced. And I know this from being on the Shade Tree Commission for 2.5 years. Our heritage trees that go down that are on private property, that go down because someone found them inconvenient, they're not replaced in any way. Furthermore, our current interpretation of the permitting process only regulates trees that are in the right-of-way, even though the actual township ordinances that are written and that are supposed to have the force of law refer to public street trees as those that overhang the street. In other words, there's a discrepancy between the interpretation of law and the way that it is written. So the plan makes no changes to any of this. The plan has no initiatives to replace our street trees or our mature heritage trees. And as someone who has lived in the township for 28 years, I can say this is only going in one direction, that of desolation. My own block went from a gorgeous woodland enclave to a street completely denuded of shade. We have no sidewalk and only asphalt to walk on, weaving in between parked cars. On a 90-degree day, asphalt can get hotter than 150 degrees Fahrenheit. This change from being shaded to being denuded all happened in the last 15 years, with much of it occurring in the last 3 years. Commissioners, this happened on your watch. Now our block is no longer walkable. With the new comprehensive plan, this will occur on all our streets because, I repeat, there is no mechanism whatsoever to either preserve or replace street trees or heritage trees. I urge you to pause this strategic plan and come up with some way to preserve our neighborhood trees, including street trees. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in that room? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Joanne Miles, Lucky Travel. I live on 113 Gilmore Road. I have lived in that house for 50 years. I can tell you, I'll be very short and sweet. I'm here to amplify everyone that has talked about knowing nothing about this. 1 hour ago, a friend invited me to come because her commissioner invited her to come. How come I never got a survey? How come every household in this township did not get a survey? How come there have not been listening sessions? I work in big organizations. I'm very active in a large denomination. And everything that is big change or big things that need to be voted on that impact the people have listening sessions. I know nothing about this. And now it's a 130-page document I need to educate myself on. And I want listening sessions where I can have back and forth conversation. I implore you not to vote for this and pause it and inform your constituents.
Thank you. Anybody else in that row? Next row after that. So that's the fifth row. Yes.
Hi, Grace Rogers, 414 Cherry Lane. I first want to just say I appreciate the Board of Commissioners and Planning Department in working to make this comprehensive plan a reality for Haverford Township. And note that best practices for these plans to be updated every decade. So we are quite behind since we haven't had a plan approved since 1988. And just keeping that in mind, that if it would be possible to think about this plan and then the next plan to keep this an iterative process where the community could be involved along the whole way. But I do think the township should not delay adoption of the plan any further. I strongly support the plan's goals to increase walkability and mixed-use development in the township, particularly in existing commercial corridors. Living in a community where I didn't have to use my car every single time I wanted to get something from the grocery store, or I realized I didn't have a pack of batteries, was a huge draw, and it's why I moved here 3 years ago. But many of the streets around where I live, around Merwood Park, including Haverford and Eagle Road, don't feel safe enough for me to take my friends' children and my future children out on the roads because of how fast people drive. I also utilize SEPTA, the M line, regularly, and I'm really supportive of increasing transit-oriented development and making that the Haverford and the Eagle Road commercial areas more lively. And I think that increasing gentle density through the residential small apartments above could be a really great way to make housing more accessible and affordable to residents here. Housing is extremely expensive all over the country and in the county and in the township. Prices have skyrocketed in the last 5 years, and homeownership is increasingly unaffordable. And the easiest way to fix that is by increasing the housing supply. And household sizes are also decreasing across the country and in this region. The average household size is 2.2 people. We don't need 5-bedroom homes, and so increasing density gently and over.
Excuse me, I expect you all to be respectful of the other speakers just as they've been respectful of you. Thank you.
Increasing density in a gentle way. I would love for my parents to be able to live here. They don't want a giant house anymore. They would love to have a small house where they could be close to grandkids. That's not possible here because we don't allow for accessory dwelling units. But doing something like that, an ordinance for ADUs, would be a great way to gently increase density in a way that's in character and in keeping with all of our neighborhoods and in the areas where we already have density. I live on 1/8 of an acre. I know my neighbors. I love my neighbors because I get to interact with them all the time. And that's not something that I've ever experienced in an area where we had much bigger lots. That's why I love where I live. And it's why I want this community and more people to be able to have that experience as well. The other thing I would like to point out is this is a math problem in a lot of ways. If you don't want your taxes to increase, then increasing and welcoming more neighbors can help bring in more tax revenue without substantially increasing services. And there are things that the township could also do, like creating an adequate public facilities ordinance or development impact fees to help increase the amount of revenue that the township can take in to be able to get the services that we need and make sure that our schools can be good and continue to be good and that we have all of the infrastructure needs met.
I'm going to ask you to wrap up now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The last thing I want to say is, as we've heard tonight, clearly this process and the communication around it has been really contentious. And I would really urge the Board of Commissioners to try to establish a quarterly update process. And whether that's other surveys, I don't know how you want to do the communication, but it's really evident that that hasn't gone super well. And I have been informed about this plan, but it's clear a lot of my neighbors have not. So figuring out a way to give more regular quarterly updates that, through social media channels, however you want to do it, but people need to be told what's happening more regularly, and I think that would help a lot. So thank you again for all of your hard work. I think this is a much needed update to our community's land use planning, and I strongly recommend you adopt.
Thank you. Anybody else in that row? Ms. Hamder.
My name is Rachel Amder, A-M-D-U-R. I live on Grassland Avenue. My name is Rachel Amder. I live on Grassland Avenue. I have been a huge beneficiary of the walkability that has already happened on Eagle Road. We moved here in 1996. We were able to walk to pizza places and nail salons. And that happened for a while. And I lived on a very busy cut through from Eagle to Darby, and it was like Grand Central Station, from 4 to 6 p.m. I didn't grow up in Haverford Township. I can tell you that Haverford Township was built when some people had 1 car. Now everybody has 3 cars. And you know what? Even we do have 3 cars. Actually, we have 4 cars sometimes. It's hard teaching my kids how to drive in this neighborhood and teaching that you have to look ahead for the block to see when they come down so you can pull over so they can get by because there's parked cars. I don't really know how the world would work if we put an ordinance that everyone could only have 1 or 2 cars. That would probably make people's heads explode. But as we have developed Eagle Road, I now can walk to House Cup, to Brick and Brew, to Buenos Aires, to lots of places And we do. We walk a lot. Eagle Road is a little dangerous. Building the Y actually made Eagle Road safer because it used to be that I couldn't pull out from Grassland Road onto Eagle Road. When my children learned how to drive, they were forbidden to make a left-hand turn because it was deathly. I don't know, 8 or 9 people have died at that intersection. We could use maybe another light on Eagle Road. But now, because of the light at the Y, they can't get to 50 miles an hour by the time they get to Grassland. They're only going 30, so, you know, it wouldn't die, you'd just have a crash. Anyway, we picked Haverford Township because of its neighborhoods. I loved the fact that the neighborhoods are single homes, twins, big houses, little houses. That's lovely. There are the Lanark section and, you know, Gulf Manor that are the big homes, but most of the neighborhoods are very mixed, and that's lovely. What we all share is that we all have a little yard, and that makes for neighborhoods. That makes for fun. That makes for us knowing our neighbors and sidewalks. I feel bad for those people that don't have sidewalks. You should put them in. Anyway, the people that you're worried about getting these rentals, I know these people. I walk my dog everywhere. Eagle Road is filled with those little apartments. You know who they are? Young families that would like to live in this township but can't afford a home yet. Older people who gave up their single home and wanted to stay close to their friends and family. Those apartments, they're not those people that we're bringing in. They're our neighbors, and there are soon-to-be neighbors, and they're just like us. They want to live here. I am in support of the plan. Some issues have been brought up tonight that maybe need more discussion, but like I said, and the road diet thing, as somebody who drives down Eagle Road, past St. Denis, up Wynwood Road every day to go to the Wynwood train station, Wynwood Road, they did a road diet. It's way safer because you know what, there's not 2 lanes of traffic and you're not jockeying to like get ahead and go, everyone's going the same direction. There's only 1 lane. It's actually safer because it's not 2 lanes on both sides. So I'm in support of this plan, and I appreciate all your work on it.
Thank you so much. All right, anybody else in that row? Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Tom Youth, Haverford Road, 2541 Haverford Road. I'm concerned about Haverford Road. Haverford Road, I've been on Haverford Road as a business on Haverford Road for 36 years. I know more about Haverford Road than probably anybody in this room here. Haverford Road is a state road. I don't know whether you guys can shrink it or not. I think the state has to do it, correct? Yeah, the state has to do it. So to talk about a diet and whatever it is, it has to do with the state. The road still floods. For 36 years I've been talking about anything to do about it, and that's all I ever hear is the state has to do it. The state has to do it. He calls the state, you might as well call Jesus Christ. You don't have a chance. I mean, it is a waste of time. To make the town center in Haverford Road because of the P&W. Before COVID, the P&W actually meant something. There's 155 spots at the P&W. There was 37 cars there yesterday, 35 cars there last Thursday. Not yesterday, I'm sorry, last Friday. So these are during the week when people are supposedly taking it. Very few people take the P&W anymore. The traffic is from 4 to 6, Monday through Friday. I leave at 7 o'clock. It's a wait, just drive right home. It's no big deal. My guys that leave at 6, you know, they complain. The guys that left at 5 don't leave at 5 anymore. They leave at 6. It's just easier. It is all, and it's not township people. They were talking about Eagle Road. I heard somebody say about Eagle Road. It's people that's not through the township. They're cutting through the township. And they're cutting through fast or whatever you want to do. They do it fast, but that's the way it is. To do a town center in 2 blocks is, I think, crazy. I don't know what it concerned there, I guess. I guess if we put a Starbucks there, then everybody would be happy. We should probably do it where the building that you guys own, the school district. It's the crappiest building on Haverford Road, by far. You're looking, you probably never even saw it. It's disgusting. Always been like that, and they don't do anything about it. They don't care. They don't even do it anymore. They store paper in that place. That's pretty much it, I gotta say. I disagree. I think you ought to push it back to do Haverford Road. I don't know enough about Eagle Road to say don't do Haverford Road, but Haverford Road, 2 blocks, floods, all different issues. There's too many issues down here. To say, oh, we're gonna do it because of public transportation, that's a joke. Nobody's gonna take that SEPTA. They just don't do it. 37 people. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. I believe I saw some other, yes.
Hi, you can hear me. I'm Mike Tosti. I live at 47 East Turnbull. And first I want to just say thank you. Grace got up and said some things for, I think, a lot of young parents. Right now, my wife is putting my kids to sleep, right? A lot of us aren't here. So I'm just going to say the following. We moved to Havertown about 1.5 years ago. We have 2 young kids, as I said, and we plan to raise them here. I looked through the plan, paying a particular attention to the goals and objectives concerning walkability, potential zoning changes, and transit-oriented solutions. I'm overall in support with a lot of the goals outlined. However, with that in mind, I'd like to speak with my experience so far, speak to why I support some of the plan, and to ask specifically how the comprehensive plan would address issues that not only affect my family, but the surrounding neighborhood. I live over in Oakmont, and the township as a whole. And one of the reasons why we moved here is that our neighborhood is within walking distance, in theory, to schools, the library, coffee shops, restaurants, commercial areas, and public transport. What we found enormously frustrating is that despite being so close to these things, walking from our neighborhood to commercial areas and public facilities along Darby or Eagle is unpleasant and dangerous with young kids, and taking mass transit is often untenable. So much of this township was not made for cars, or certainly not for the number of cars we're currently required as a result of choices made over the years, and that's whether it was changes made to road by PennDOT, or the defunding and degradation of public transit in the area, which is about to get even worse. Every person who is walking, biking, or taking transit is a person who is not in a car. The traffic issue, the road safety issue cannot be solved without reducing car usage, car speed, and to provide for alternatives, viable alternatives, walking, protected bike lanes, that I wouldn't put my kid out on Darby Road on that bike lane. It's ridiculous. But the solution is not to have bike lanes. The solution is to slow people down. That speed limit should not be 35 miles an hour. The residential speed limit should not be 25 miles an hour. You can't have people rolling through stop signs. I can't believe it. It's incredible. So, I understand. I'll finish with what I got written down here. There is no other region in this country, I moved from the New York area, I lived most of my life there. There's no other region in this country I've found that has more potential for excellent transit and suburban neighborhoods that have the potential for being walkable, for being livable. And even then, Haverford stands out. The potential for infrastructure here is incredible. So many of our neighborhoods are within walking distance, as I've said, and so many of our streets were built with transit in mind from the start. I'm actually in favor of providing areas for increased density before people start yelling like before. I do want to say, though, in order to handle this, what can we really do? This is intended to be a comprehensive plan, and how do we actually handle this when SEPTA is cutting service, or when we have to rely on PennDOT to do these changes? What power do we have at the municipal level to get things done? I read the plan. I read the plan closely. I don't know how it's going to get done. What are we going to do? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Pat Kasher, K-A-C-S-U-R. I live at 2701 St. Mary's. So I'm a recent resident, moved here this year. Sorry, I'm going to give you a little background so you guys don't all hate me. Military kid, grew up moving all over the place, so I've seen a lot of different things. Met a girl from Delco. Apparently they all want to come back here. So here I am, raising a family, or starting a family, hopefully. And But I got to at least pick like where we lived in Haverford Town, and I wanted to do that based on that walkability, and I love that. I've walked to a lot of your businesses on Haverford Road. We got to talk about the head nut hours so I can get a coffee in the morning. But surprised to hear that I sort of were aligned with some of our goals, but we disagree. I think it's a great plan. You should pass it. But so like improving walkability, like the gentleman just mentioned, will take cars off the road. When cars are passing through our town, slowing down that traffic will probably make them take a different route, hopefully. I've seen kids crossing these roads, and I think like I'm taking my life into my own hands when I'm on some of these sidewalks. So I'm worried about them as well, and I think just improving that infrastructure would be great. And I think the more we can make that more accessible for more folks, we'll get more people walking. I really believe in local business. I try not to shop online, so I think keeping the money in the township's important. I do think, to some earlier folks saying the difficulty about finding housing is an important consideration. I know it's the children and grandchildren of folks that I've met growing up here who are having trouble finding these houses too. I want to give some credence to the folks that are on the other side. I could hear the eye rolls when we mentioned hiring consultants. I feel that way too. They're very expensive. But I think there's probably a lot of talent in the community, and I know there's been some miscommunication issues. I think if you make the call, maybe folks will step up and lend their talents when available. As far as Haverford Road, I was so excited to see it have a traffic diet. So to me, I think it's just concrete right now, which is super non-permeable. Maybe I'd like to suggest that if we are able to get development there, we have the developers put in the infrastructure that helps with flood control. I'm sorry, I wasn't aware of that issue until just now, so just catching up. I love exploring the town by running, so if you see me, feel free to stop me and say hi, and I'll talk about all these issues with you. I haven't been able to make it to some of the amenities because I've just like run into sidewalks that just end. So I'll make it there one day, but to the forest preserve. But yeah, no, thanks. I'm so glad to be here, and happy to meet everybody. And I don't know, this has been great. Thanks.
I see Mr. Channon. Anybody? We'll go with you, Mr. Channon. Thank you.
Thank you. David Channon at 748 Rugby Road. Unlike the folks who heard about this plan yesterday or this morning, I've been living with it for at least 4 or 5 years. I serve on the Planning Commission and the Free Library Foundation Board, and I do not speak for either. I've also submitted comments in writing, and therefore will try to keep my remarks short, given the hour and given the 3 minutes. First, I'd like to repeat what others have said in that, and I'd like to add that Jamie Gelosian did having lived with the plan for a long time, including every draft and 10 meetings of comments, she did a remarkable job of making the plan much better structured, more readable and clearer. Of course, then the unintended consequences, people can object easily to things, but it's also much stronger in its presentation. Jamie also spoke of openness and communication, and I'd like to say that she and Dave have demonstrated that in their actions and their willingness to discuss with members of the community issues regarding planning and zoning, and the same is true for Jonathan Mount. It's a change in our township. It's a change for the better and for more professional operation. Also, if anybody would like Judy Trombetta's newsletter, I can vouch for that. All you have to do is ask, and you'll get it. So thanks. I'd like to start, make a few comments, the least controversial of which is the plan draft needs to be updated for the new free library, the newly renovated free library. It's beautiful and expanded, and as I said, that should be a non-controversial addition. The plan does not propose, as to housing, the plan does not propose increased residential density, as has been said many times. However, the process does not end with the publication or approval of the plan. Housing is a really important issue nationally and locally. Many have spoken about increased demand, including in this township, and inadequate supply to meet that demand. I would encourage the board to make that one of the issues you would tackle pretty soon, rather than putting it off for the next decade. So we have to look at housing, and housing for all, to use the word affordable, for all income levels. Okay. Jamie's addressed the Haverford Road commercial corridor issue, so I won't speak to those. I'll just say that and Lynn Elliott spoke eloquently on the labeling of the office and commercial uses as under the heading commercial. And when we talk about unintended consequences, this is a blueprint. The plan is a blueprint for future zoning. And it should be very clear, it should avoid being misconstrued, which it could be, to mean that office uses are now going to be converted to commercial. That is clearly not what's intended, but that's how it could be interpreted.
You can wrap up your remarks. Thank you.
Last couple of comments for the future. One, again, unintended consequences. I think as this meeting and others have shown, the best safeguard against unintended consequences when this plan goes to the zoning consultants is really to not just say, well, you'll have an opportunity for input. I think the board really needs to structure the relationship so that community groups have real, meaningful input. I think others have spoken about non-conforming uses. I think there was the earlier drafts did have a sentence about non-conforming uses. They're important in our older neighborhoods like Brentford and others. One sentence just to say that it's the policy of the township, as its code indicates, to continue in favor of its policy of gradual elimination of non-conforming uses in accordance with, as permitted by Pennsylvania law. Last, I promise, whatever the plan says, the unintended consequences come about in how the plan is implemented. The township needs to take steps to educate its agencies, its commissions, its committees, itself, to understand our code and our local code and the municipality's planning code. How can I be tactful? The township needs to make clear that its agencies and officials must limit their actions to those permitted under the municipality's planning code and the township ordinance. I think of one agency in particular, but I won't get into that tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Schwartz, and then I'll get to you, sir.
Thank you. Dave Schwartz, 321 Davis Road in Ward 2. Been a resident of Haverford for 15 years, and by profession I'm a licensed engineer and urban planner. So I've reviewed dozens, if not hundreds, of comprehensive plans. I reviewed this one as well. The recommendations overall, I think, are pretty good. Some of them are very general, which is okay for a comprehensive plan. They can be general. They don't need to be ultra-specific. As mentioned before, but I mention again, plan is only for guidance. There are no mandates in this plan. There are no mandates in the comprehensive plan. Anything that is in there, if there's a recommendation in there that turns out to be infeasible or unwanted, that can be removed. That is one of the good things about these plans. I love the idea, and I do understand that a lot of people have not felt informed about this planning process. More public engagement is always a good practice. It's always good recommended. I believe one speaker earlier mentioned the idea of quarterly updates. Love that idea. I think that would be a phenomenal idea. A comprehensive plan can, and I think should, in many cases, be ongoing. But it isn't very important to have a plan for a number of reasons. One, you're supposed to have one every 10 years. We're a couple of years behind that, but be that as it may. But one thing I haven't mentioned also is that comprehensive plans are very important for grants. If we want to get grants for streetscape, for improvements, for a variety of other programs, I filled out a lot of these grants. One of the questions I've asked in all of them is, do you have a comprehensive plan, and is it in the comprehensive plan? If the answers are no, your application is toward the bottom of the pile. If they're yes, you get more consideration. So I think that's a critical thing. If we're going to look for improvements in the township, having a base, even if that base changes, or even if that base has some things in there that aren't going to be implemented, it is important to have one of those plans. Now I want to touch on just one point of the plans brought up earlier by a few speakers, is our commercial notes. I love them. They are, I think, maybe a bit antiquated, could use a bit of sprucing up. One thing that's very important, though, I think, is that our commercial areas generate only 20% of our tax revenue. That is the second lowest in the county, or the second lowest in the county, I believe second lowest in the state, if I'm not mistaken. We do not have a mall like Springfield. We don't have an office park like Marple. We don't have a downtown node, if you will, like Media. And we have no places to put any of those things. So if we're going to try to diversify our tax base and reduce this disparity, you have to work with what we have. And will there be struggles with traffic and parking? I'm sure there will be. But people do not come to a place to park, nor do they come to a place to drive through. They come to a place because it's a destination. So I think that is if the community does not change, it dies. Doesn't adapt, it dies. I think that's very important to bring up. And then one last thing I just wanted to mention, I wasn't planning on talking about this, but Haverford Road has been mentioned a few times, and I want to just mention a couple of things about that. There have been some studies done on Haverford Road, looking at a road diet. I've reviewed a couple of them. As hard as it may be to believe, and it does seem a bit counterintuitive, but there have been some studies that show a road diet may actually help to improve operations. I know it sounds nuts, but that is what's out there. One idea I want to throw out there, there are opportunities now for what's called pop-up events, where you can test options, temporary markings, temporary signal timings, temporary things to look at things for a couple of weeks. If it's a disaster, you can tear them up. It's not paint, doesn't even require removing the paint. It's often duct tape can be used for these things. So that's an option I just want to throw out there. If it's something that you'd like to have more information about, I'm happy to provide it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Jim Hazelton. I'm a resident of the township. I'm glad Mr. Schwartz came up as a school board member. He would have liked to have heard a comment on how this may impact any influx in the amount of students or wear and tear or just any type of issues that may increase the already high school taxes in the township. But anyway, large concern is there's a lot of pages in the 2025 plan with a lot of gray areas. It's I'm just trying to simplify this. It's as if the comprehensive plan is a gateway for future zoning changes that would be unwelcoming to the taxpayers. May or may not be the truth, but that's kind of what we're concerned about, a lot of us. With no open land, which is pretty clear, if you lived in the township for a short period of time, there's not a lot of land here. So there's only one way to go, and that's up. We're concerned about multi-tiered units popping up. And, I know there's been a lot of talk about, well, it'll be discussed, so it'll have to go through the zoning. But again, could this be a gateway, to open up or loosen up zoning laws? And that's a big concern of a lot of people. Almost every meeting we hear about more taxpayer money being used for consultants, surveys. I'm not too sure that this has been a feasible investment, especially since the 2022 plan seems to make better sense for those who actually read it page to page. We had an intro today, a couple people, long-winded intro on, how we all should have been aware of this meeting, and apparently that wasn't the case, whether it was in the newspaper, however you guys advertise it, no fault of yours. It just didn't get out. It's not for probably lack of effort, but people didn't know. It was grassroots, leaflets being handed out, and unofficial social media pages that, brought people here to ask questions. It's pretty clear when only 7%, approximately 3,500 people, the 50,000 people were surveyed. This created even more anxiety. It's a very small fraction of the people had any type of input. Not sure the legalities on this type of procedure, but an issue like this, should it be put on the ballot in a primary election so all 50,000 people could vote on it, a yay or nay, on what they want, instead of just 3,700. Commissioner Grupp, there's a deep concerning question that some of us have, and it's our understanding that an immediate family member of yours received thousands of dollars in funds to assist with the comprehensive plan. If so, a lot of us folks believe that this may be some type of conflict of interest, and perhaps it would be in your best interest to recuse yourself from any further action pertaining to this. You might want to talk to the solicitor about that, but it's a concern. We want to keep everything above board. Again, at this point, with 3,700 people in a survey out of approximately 50,000 people, we ask respectfully that you commissioners pump the brakes on this thing, reevaluate it, get more public input, have more transparency, and it is a lot of the fault of the residents that people didn't follow up on it, but people are busy 10 hours out of the day. But now the word's getting out. Let's start this thing where people can come, ask questions, simplify it, and we want to keep Haverford a safe suburban community. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Hi, my name is Joe McHugh. I'm from Sagamore Road. I'll be brief. I know my mind's glazed over. I'm sure yours is. It's been a long night here. I did grow up on Sagamore Road, believe it or not. I grew up in the 60s, and I knew Brookline Business District when everything was walkable. You had a market, you had a supermarket, you had a hardware store, you had a florist, you had a bakery, you had pharmacies, you had a 5 and 10. I did my Christmas shopping at the 5 and 10. That's where I'd go.
Movie theater.
It was you had a movie theater. It was a great place to grow up. But, times changed. Big box stores came, supermarkets came. The market on Brookline made money. I knew people that worked there, but it didn't make enough money. So it closed, became St. Jude shop. So as much as it'd be great to go back to that, and I would love that, it's just not going to happen. You just, economically, you just can't have little hardware stores. It'd be great to have a market, but it's not. So my concern with the plan is it would be used as a blueprint to change zoning. It's clear, right? You have this blueprint, and if it's in there and you can create increased density, I think that's a mistake, because I think one of the reasons people move here is they don't want to move to an urban environment. When we were having our first child, we lived in the city. We moved here for the suburban feel. And I talked to a lot of young people, and it's the same thing today. It hasn't really changed. So I think increased density would ruin the character of the township. As far as the biking and walkability, I walk all over the township. Township's great. Trails are great. I think that's a great improvement. I do think these bike lanes, though, I live behind Brookline Boulevard, and it creates a false sense of security. People walk their strollers in the bike lane. They walk 3 across, and it's just not a very safe condition, because people are distracted drivers. I'm all for walking. I walk on the sidewalk. I walk to the trails. I walk the sidewalk. I biked. You can bike when people that are experienced bikers have navigated roads for years. And I think they'll continue to do that. So I read that and I think, I don't know. So as far as traffic, I would maybe one of the things to consider would be trying to time lights. I mean, look at Chestnut Street, Walnut Street. They're timed, but they're slow. You know, you have to go a certain speed or you're going to hit a light. So people don't necessarily speed on those roads. I think Alexandria is like that. I'm sure there's lots of towns in the country that are like that. If you can time lights, I think you'll cut back on people speeding and trying to beat a light, because that's really what you see a lot. At least that's what I see a lot of. So that's my suggestion. So thank you. It's been a long night, but
Thank you. Anybody else on this right-hand side? I'm seeing no hands. Anybody else on the left-hand side? Yes, Mr. Waters.
John Waters, resident of Haverford Town for 72 years. I was looking at your facial expressions while I was back there, and although it pains me to do so, I feel I need to stand up for this board. Can't sometimes means can't, not won't. I was here when there were trolleys going down Darby Road. I was here when I jumped the trains back here behind the police station. Eagle Road is its problem because of the Blue Route. People that want to get down the shore on a Friday afternoon from Wynwood want to get to the Blue Route. They come through Haverford Town. Eagle Road used to be 2 lanes. It got widened. I think it's at its ultimate right-of-way right now, I would bet. The intersection of Eagle and Darby Road is awful, but it's a state problem. You can't fix it. We can't fix it. To do that, there would have to be quite a bit of land acquisition by the state at normal market value. So if you want to complain about Eagle, Darby, and Lawrence Road, this is a nice place to air it. But these people don't have the authority to do a thing about it. You need to go to your state representatives and demand something, because whether you like it or not, local government is not all powerful. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on the left-hand side? Oh, yep, sir. We're going to exhaust everyone. Okay. Thank you.
And I'm a big mouth, but my name's Frank Breslin. I live at 41 Brayburn Road. Being a local resident for 36 years now, a multiple property owner in Haverford Township, I'm dead set against being in a hurry. You got to take your time and think about this, because once you lower the bit, whatever, we cannot be in a hurry to change the township. We do not want to be Philadelphia. We do not want to be Lower Merion. We do not want to be Radnor. We're Haverford. And that's why we bought here. And that's why I buy here and I do all my business in Haverford. But I cannot sit here and I listen to people say, oh, we got to get SEPTA coming through here. SEPTA's not going to help us. That's not going to help us. What everything we got to do is take our time, think about it, and not, as I was telling Connor, get crazy. You got to think. Take your time. Devon Prep teaches you that. Okay? Just letting you know, Larry. And it's not the, what's the word? The answer is to be in a hurry. Take our time. Think about this. We do not want to be Philadelphia. We bought here because it's Haverford. I grew up in Philadelphia and then Narberth, Clifton Heights, but I've lived here for 35 years. I love Haverford Township, and I don't want it to change. Not like that. We don't need high-density buildings. We don't need SEPTA buses running up and down our streets. And we definitely don't want our schools being infiltrated with multiple populations so that we are paying the taxes on that. They're already high enough. Let's get sensible here. Common sense. That's what the answer is. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on the left-hand side? Now we're going back to the right side, one more time. Anybody on the right-hand side? Thank you. All right. I thank you to everyone who participated. I'm now going to open the floor to my colleagues, if any of them wish to offer remarks. Any of my colleagues?
Go ahead.
No, you want me?
Well, the first thing I just wanted to clarify is that whether we have remarks tonight or there also will be remarks on next Monday before we consider this, and obviously the week for people to absorb comments and whether or not they want to contact constituents who spoke or other constituents who wrote to us. So if I have comments tonight, I can assure you all they won't be my only ones, but let me defer to everybody right now. Yeah, I'm done for now. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. I just wanted to make a few comments based on the notes I took while everybody was sharing. I want to thank everybody who took the time to attend the public meeting tonight and share their input on the draft comprehensive plan. We've heard from many residents. I want to acknowledge the time, care, and concern that went into the comments that everybody brought to the meeting. This plan's been in development for more than 6 years, long before I joined the board. Across multiple boards, the Planning Commission, open meetings, ward meetings, input from different township staff and consultants, the county. Our last plan was passed, as some people have noted, in 1988, and the best practice is to update this every 10 years. It's taken us 6 years just to get to this point. So while it's not perfect, and while some issues still need refinement, and I want to mention some of those, we do have a responsibility to move forward. As many have said, this is a long-term guiding document, not a zoning ordinance, and it's meant to inform future actions by the board. So I just want to touch on a few specific points that stood out to me. One of the concerns raised early on by Mr. Williams was about the need for more clarity in how housing density is addressed to ensure future boards stay aligned with the vision that's laid out. I think that's a good point, and this kind of clarity can help future decision makers stay grounded because this board has priorities and each board has their own priorities. So I think it's important, and I feel like this plan does a good job of laying out these guidelines in a way that's clear and will prevent future boards from really changing direction in ways that we don't want. Some residents during SAR and those who signed the petition expressed concern about commercial development on Haverford Road, especially in the stretch from Ardmore to Landover. I do support clarifying that language. I live near Haverford Road. I am also concerned with some of that. And I've conveyed this to the township staff, as I know you have. There were a couple of comments that confused the road diet, which is PennDOT, with the comprehensive plan. Nothing in the comprehensive plan would change Haverford Road to one way in each direction. That's been proposed by PennDOT. We don't have any plans to implement it. We're actively working with them and weighing the pros and cons, which many people brought up tonight. But that's not part of the plan that we're voting on. All of these things do intersect, and that's part of what we're trying to do here is consider all of these different things that are coming into play, and then what that's gonna look like now and what it's gonna look like 10 years from now. Questions were raised by Lynn Elliott about the land use map showing certain office areas as commercial. I agree this section could be made a little more clear. The map could be made more clear. And I would leave that up to staff, but a simple overlay or a label on the current map could help clarify that those districts are not being rezoned for commercial use, that's an office district. So just to finish up, all of these comments are really helpful to me. I'm as tired as everybody else, listening, but it is important, and I'm really happy to see so much input. I've had a lot of conversations with Ward 5 residents on the plan, and we held a resident meeting a few weeks ago. I know, residents like David have served on the Planning Commission and different boards that have worked on the plan. So I thank everybody for their insights and their engagement. I think it strengthens the plan by pointing out where we can be more specific or make language clearer. But I do think we have a great opportunity to bring the community in more ways. in order to help people feel more included in the planning process. I will actively support these efforts, but overall, the core direction of the plan reflects years of work and input. I want to thank Jamie Jelosian for all of her work and Township Manager Dave Berman. But I believe it's time to move forward together and to continue shaping our future as a township that's transparent, thoughtful, and forward-looking. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cavender. Any further comments from my colleagues? On this side.
Madam President,
Yes, Commissioner Holmes.
I just wanted to give some folks, if you take a step back and look at the entire plan, one of the things we are trying to do is we are trying to foster growth in our commercial areas. One of those ways we think that could be helpful is mixed use, but also just simply encouraging the businesses that we have is something we need to do, and I want to explain why. In the 2025 budget, our real estate taxes, our projected real estate tax revenue is $28.7 million. All of our business revenue, business tax revenue, the mercantile tax, the business privilege tax, and the local services tax. And understand, the local services tax is just the $52 per employee that works in the township, whether you live here or not. That totals approximately $3,600,000. So just a little more than 10% of our real estate taxes. We cannot survive as a suburban township if we do not change those ratios and if we do not generate more income from our business areas. That is one of the things that's driving my thoughts on this plan, and one of the things I have been talking about for a very long time on this board. Because we will all continue to demand better services from folks. We will not pay our township people less. Trash trucks will not get less expensive. It will not be less expensive to deliver the services that people want in this township. And the way we're going to be able to afford that is to be able to generate business income from thriving business districts. And that is one of the goals of this plan. It's one of the things that's driving me behind my efforts on this plan. And I just wanted to make sure people understood that. This isn't aspirational. This isn't just talk. Those are the real, actual numbers that we are dealing with. We do generate a great deal of income as a township that generates licenses and permits and has a department of skating. But the fact is, the overwhelming amount of our revenue to cover everything we do as a township comes from real estate taxes. And that is not our future. And that is something I wanted to make very clear to everybody.
Thank you, Commissioner Holmes. Any further comments from my colleagues?
Ms. Trombetta.
Yes, Commissioner Forster-Grab.
I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to come out on a Monday evening to talk to us about the comprehensive plan. A postcard was sent to every resident, and we did that in part because back in March, people were saying that we had not done enough outreach to the community to make sure everyone knew about the comp plan. So we did send cards. We have been sending emails. We've been trying to post on social media as much as possible because it is important that everyone know about the comprehensive plan and have a chance to read it and to come and share your thoughts about it. We've received innumerable emails about the comprehensive plan, and those are very important to us. We also listen very carefully. One of my chief jobs when I'm up here is listening and being receptive to your thoughts and hearing your concerns about Haverford Road and the flooding along Haverford Road and your concerns about the crazy traffic in Haverford Township. Most of the emails I get are related to traffic in one way or another. So we do know it's a problem. And we're going to work very hard to try to do our best to mitigate it. But as Mr. Holmes was saying, we also have a math problem. How can we maintain strong services and yet keep residential taxes as low as possible? How can we make sure that Haverford Township is a very attractive place to live? I've talked to a lot of people in Ward 2 who are very concerned that their children and grandchildren can't afford to live here. Our 3 children grew up in Haverford Township, and yes, the middle child did work as a consultant on the comprehensive plan under the direction of our community development director. He did, not hiding it. He loves the township. He has a double master's in urban planning from the University of Pennsylvania. He was very proud to be able to contribute in a way that was appropriate for his experience under the community director's oversight. And I'm proud of him. I'm very proud of him, but I'm also here to tell you that my job is to listen to you, and particularly the members of Ward 2, who are concerned about the comp plan and want it to be the best roadmap forward, not just for Ward 2, but for everyone who lives in Haverford Township now and who dreams of living in Haverford Township, because we truly are the best community in Delaware County, and we want to stay that way. That's it.
Thank you. Any further comments from my colleagues? The Board of Commissioners will take the testimony and evidence presented this evening under careful consideration as we review potential revisions and prepare for possible adoption of the Township's comprehensive plan next Monday, June 9th. Members of the public are also welcome to participate during the Citizens Forum at that meeting. Mr. Solicitor, are there any additional procedural steps I need to take before we close this hearing?
No, at this time, under the Municipalities Planning Code, the conference plan should be in a position for consideration at the board at its next business meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you again for everyone who joined us this evening and remained here this evening. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Hearing no objection? All right. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
5 minutes before we start.
Yes, we'll take a reset for 5 minutes. Thank you. We're now returning to our regularly scheduled June 2nd, 2025 work session. We have no scheduled presentations tonight, so we'll move directly into the Commissioner Committee updates. I invite any commissioners who wish to share updates from their respective committees to do so now. Commissioners, anybody?
Nothing from finance.
Thank you. Hearing none, we'll now invite our Deputy Chief, Joe Hagan, to provide an update on recent police department activities in Haverford Township.
You want me to shut the door?
Oh, thank you.
Good evening. I'm going to be quick. I promise. During the month of May, we had 25 criminal arrests, 1 juvenile arrest, 230 traffic citations, 3 non-traffic citations, 58 warnings, and 521 parking tickets. There was 1 burglary attempt in the 1000 block of Westchester Pike of the medical office, 2 motor vehicle thefts where keys were left in the car and the car were taken overnight. 5 vehicle attempts throughout the township where the cars were all unlocked and different things were taken from the different cars during the overnight hours. And then there was 3 bicycle scooter thefts within the township. One of the things the chief wanted me to remind everyone about locking your cars and taking your keys with you. And also coming up in a couple days on June 5th is the Paul Miller Law. Paul Miller Law, which is banning cell phone usage. You can't be driving down the street now holding your cell phone. You're allowed to use it through your Bluetooth, but there's only 1 button allowed, and that's it. You can't be driving around the state of Pennsylvania on your cell phone anymore.
Okay, so that's
It's a,
That's a statewide law that finally happened.
yes, it's becoming a primary offense where the police can pull you over for it if they observe it. During the first year of the laws being enacted, only a written warning can be issued. So we are going to do an educational push throughout the township, make people aware of the law. And I think a lot of people now tell you with Bluetooth should be okay, but, you know, you have to get used to that. No more driving around on the phone. So.
And Deputy Chief, you mentioned primary versus secondary, and correct me if I have this wrong, but like an example of a secondary offense would be if you pull someone over for another reason, you see they don't have a seatbelt on, they can get a seatbelt, but you can't pull someone over for not having a seatbelt.
That's correct.
But you see a phone to my head, you'll pull me over, and I can vouch for the PD.
Yes.
They have pulled me over before for other things.
And that's like for texting or anything, you're sitting, you see it all the time. They sit next to people, they get at the traffic light, they stop, and the first thing they're doing is either scrolling through their phone, going through their, checking their Instagram, right there at the traffic light. So you're not allowed to do that even when the car stopped at a traffic light. So that's a little bit of the change, so. Any
That's
questions?
going to be a big change.
All right.
Any further questions?
Oh, well, I can't talk to text, so I won't be in it, so it won't be an issue for me, so.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will review the items scheduled for consideration at the June 9th, 2025 regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners. Starting with next week, the Board of Commissioners will hear two important presentations from the Haverford Township Police Department. First, the board will consider certifying the list from the Civil Service Commission for the role of Deputy Chief of Police. And second, we'll have the opportunity to recognize and celebrate the promotion of one of our officers to the rank of sergeant. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues on this board regarding these two agenda items?
Just a question for clarification. Are we certifying the deputy chief list and approving the deputy chief, or are we just certifying the list?
Voting on the list.
Just certifying. Okay, that's what I thought. I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? Okay, next week, the Board of Commissioners will issue two proclamations. First, we'll recognize June as Pride Month in Haverford Township. And second, we'll recognize Juneteenth in Haverford Township. Do both proclamations, actually, I'll just move on to say, do any of my colleagues have any questions regarding those proclamations? Okay, hearing none, I'll move on. So, following interviews that took place this month, next week, the board will consider making several appointments to various township committees and boards, including one appointee to the Environmental Advisory Committee for the 6th Ward, one appointee to the Health Advisory Board, one appointee to the Human Relations Commission. Are there any questions or comments regarding these appointments?
Can I do that appointment right now, or do I have to do it at our regular meeting?
Mr. Walker, do you have an opinion on that?
The person, right, who's been filling in for draft?
I'd recommend, if you're saying to take action, you probably want to take the action at a
Okay,
public meeting. Now,
next
whether it needs to be done at a public meeting, I'm unaware. But if it's something that must be done at a public meeting, I would wait till next week for that.
Roger that.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Okay, next week, I'll just remind my colleagues before we begin our review of the consent agenda that these items will be considered with a single vote at next week's meeting. Each item is outlined in greater detail in the public agenda packet, and we'll take time this evening to review them individually. If any member of the board would like an item to be considered separately, they may request its removal either tonight or at next week's meeting so that it may be addressed independently. With that, we'll move into the items under the consent agenda, including the approval of minutes for the May 12th, 2025 Board of Commissioners meeting. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments regarding the approval of minutes? Moving on, next week under the consent agenda, the board will also consider approving the purchase of 14 mobile radios for our police department for the new county radio system. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments regarding this purchase?
Just a clarification. Somewhere in there, it mentions that the county is supplying mobile radios. Are these in addition to what the county is supplying, or?
That's correct. The county is giving us a allotment. They're dividing it up through all the police departments within Delaware County. We're going to get our allotment, and this will be the remaining amount for all our vehicles.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions or comments? Okay, next week under the consent agenda, items number C and D, we'll consider awarding contract for gasoline and diesel for our Public Works Department. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments regarding these contract awards? Okay, next week under the consent agenda, letter E, we'll consider the purchase of 600 recycling cans and 600 lids for the Public Works Sanitation Department. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments regarding this contract or this purchase? Hearing none, move on. Next week, we'll also consider awarding a contract to Walker Consultants for the completion of the parking study. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments regarding this contract? Okay, moving on to change orders. So next week, the board will consider 2 change orders related to the library renovation and expansion project at a cost of $30,452.06 for Rycon Construction General Management, as well as an added cost of $14,344 for AGJM Electric. It's my understanding that the remaining project contingency is currently at $55,652. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments regarding these change orders?
Just to emphasize that these change orders do not put the library over budget. We do have still 50,000, as you said, 50,000 plus in the contingency budget. So we're still looking good.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Okay, next week, the board will consider 3 change orders under the consent agenda related to the Stadium Locker Room renovation project. One for SB Conrad. It's my forgive me, I didn't list the other one, but the project has a $200,000 built into the budget for contingency. Currently, with all the approved change orders to date, these change orders and any projected change orders, there's a contingency balance of $143,196. Are there any questions or comments regarding these change orders?
Could we just get an update at that meeting from somebody, just let us know how the project itself is going, and it'd be great.
Yes, thank you. I think that was
Back on the ice in July. I'm really looking forward to it.
great. And I think that was intended, actually. Mr. Matthews was planning on coming, I think. Thank you. Any further questions or comments regarding that item? Okay, next week under the consent agenda, the board will consider a final release of escrow funds relative to the site improvements at 217 Walnut Hill Lane. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments regarding that agenda item? Hearing none, we'll move on to ordinances. We have 1 ordinance under consideration next week, namely a second reading of the ordinance number P8 2025 to allow for sticker parking on the west side of Hampton Road in Ward 7 from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. on school days. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments regarding this ordinance? Okay, the board will consider 3 resolutions next week. For starters, the board will consider resolution number 2450-2025, amendment to a lease agreement with Haverford Township School District regarding 50 Hilltop Road. Any of my colleagues have any questions or comments regarding this? Okay, next week, the board will also consider resolution number 2451-2025, which authorizes our township manager and assistant township manager to apply for a grant through the Pennsylvania Department of Conservation, Community and Economic Development for a path at Elwell Park. Just to note that our agenda said DCNR, but it's actually a DCED grant. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments regarding this resolution? Okay, finally, next week, the board will consider resolution number 2452-2025 to adopt the township's comprehensive plan. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments regarding this resolution at this time?
I'll defer till next week.
Okay, Commissioner Quinn will defer to next week. Any further questions or comments?
I will have comments next week.
Excellent, thank you. I'll note that we have 2 additional agenda items to go over that were not on the agenda that we've received on Friday, but we would like to have them reviewed and considered next week. So first, we have a contract award for Phase 2 of the grading project at Brookline Park. Mr. Berman, do you want to offer any additional information?
This is the second phase of the project. As you know, the earlier phase was the stormwater management, and the bids were opened last week, and we have a memo that will be included in the packet for next week's meeting.
Thank you. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments regarding this agenda item at this time?
Do we don't have to do anything to add this to the agenda, right? Provided we spoke about it tonight, right?
That's the way we've always worked.
That's how we've handled it. Okay, great.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments regarding this agenda item? Okay, we also have a contract award for signal equipment at Eagle and Manoa Roads to accommodate the pedestrian safety modifications. Mr. Berman, do you want to offer any additional information since it's not on the agenda?
We had discussed this a number of times at various meetings where we were looking to have some pedestrian, the walk signals with the countdown timers and all that. And so the signal itself needs to have some programming and additional equipment installed for that. And it'll be upgraded in the $12,000 range.
Thank you. Any of my colleagues have any questions or comments regarding this agenda item?
Is that for both intersections of Darby and Eagle?
This is Manoa and Eagle by the school.
Okay.
By the school when they were here a couple months ago.
Yeah, okay.
Any further questions or comments? That concludes our preview of the June 9th agenda. Are there any questions, comments, concerns about items that were discussed tonight that from my colleagues?
Madam President?
Yes, Commissioner Holmes.
Just before we adjourn, and I would have said this public hearing, we have had some hot meetings in the past in this room and in the other room. Pickleball comes to mind, as does library, human relations ordinance, so many things. I just want to commend you on your presiding over this meeting tonight. It was a lot of opinions, a lot of public participation, and I just want to say good job presiding over the meeting.
Thank you. It means a lot. Thank you. Anybody else want to compliment me while we're at it, or no?
Defer till next week.
Thank you. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. Meeting's adjourned.